What's up Nakama, welcome to the part 6, of What If Luffy Had Koby Join His Crew, Chapter 10. Jin moaned, trying to shade his eyes from the harsh sun as he stepped onto the deck. The familiar pain of a hangover made his vision swim, the man leaning against the wall as he shuffled his way toward the kitchen. Whispers reached him as he opened the door, a number of his crewmates also dealing with temporary sound sensitivity. Jin! Luffy yelled, most of the room hunching over and covering their ears. Please, Don, Jin groaned with a slur, a free hand coming up to rub his forehead. I know your liver's stronger than some of ours, but please don't rub it in and make it worse. It's your own fault for being such a wimp. Zoro shrugged, already halfway through a breakfast of ham and booze. Shut up, the Tonfuser sighed, sitting at the table as Sanji provided some food. Now that everyone is here, Nami began, dealing with her hangover far better than Jin, Amy, Usopp, and Vivi. We need to make sure all of us are on the same page. For Chopper, we'll go over everything. Vivi. What? The billionaire questioned, looking up from where she had been shading her eyes by hiding her face in the table. Oh, right. So, my kingdom of Alabasta is currently trapped in a civil war because Quirks framed the drought we're having on my father. I infiltrated Quirks with Igaram, the head of castle security, 2 years ago to try to learn who was in charge, and we found out less than a month ago that it's Crocodile, one of the 7 warlords of the sea. The warlords? Chopper asked, unaware of such matters. They are pirates who work for the world government, Koby explained. They're supposed to be so strong that the Navy essentially gives up on chasing them in return for their help in dealing with other strong pirates. It only works because some pirates don't care who they work for if they get to fight strong people or get riches. That's so scary. Ha! Usopp laughed, only to flinch as the loud noise aggravated his headache. He quickly lowered his volume, though not his bravado. We can take the stupid Sand Grok. We're real strong. He does have an entire secret organization under his control, Amy reminded them. Most of the millions and billions aren't that strong, but they're bloodthirsty and there are a lot of them. Grace and I worked for Quirks for 3 years and worked with hundreds of others. No one in the organization knows the real name of anyone else, Zoro chuckled, still finding the idea stupid. They're all given stupid code names and the higher ones get numbers. Speaking of, Jin added, getting his language under control, I'd like to know who we might be going up against. At least the number guys. Grace turned to Amy, silent as she nibbled on a rice cracker. Amy sighed, deciding she would have to answer despite Grace having been the highest rank of the 3 former agents. That she was also the youngest and laziest made the situation ironic in hindsight. Originally, there were 14 special pairs that answered directly to Crocodile, through everyone only knows him as Mr. Zero, and his partner Miss All Sunday. Under him are the Mr. 1 through Mr. 13 pairs, and most of them are made of a male and female agent. My partner was Mr. 5 and Grace's was Mr. 3. Vivi was paired with Mr. 9 and her guard was Mr. 8. Between those and the Mr. 13 pair that Sanji killed on Little Garden, that leaves 8 pairs, Grok, and his partner. What can you tell us about them? Zoro urged. We don't have to worry about the Mr. 6, 10, 11, or 12 pairs, Vivi offered. They are the ones in charge of maintaining the networks in the blues. It would take them too long to get to Alabasta to be any threat to us. That leaves the 1, 2, 4, and 7 pairs that we might meet, Amy picked up. Mr. 1 is paired with Miss Doublefinger, and both have devil fruits. Mr. 2 is his own partner, which I do not understand since I haven't met him. Mr. 3 was left on Little Garden with Mr. 5 when we joined the crew. Mr. 4 is paired with Miss Merry Christmas, and they have a pair of fruits, but he isn't one of them? It's his dog, Grace piped up. Lasso's a good boy. And then the Mr. 7 pair is him and Miss Father's Day. They specialize in guns. If I may ask, Nami said, why did you two join Quirks in the first place? I mean, You seemed pretty eager to join us. We didn't join for the cause, if that's what you mean, Amy sighed. We ended up with them 3 years ago after they rescued us. Grace and I come from a small island in the South Blue called Greenbank. The population was small and close-knit, no more than 200 people, give or take. When that winter came, it was especially bad. All the winter crops we had couldn't stand the cold and a virus worked its way through the people. I managed to get over it and Grace didn't get sick, but our parents, who were best friends, didn't make it. Grace and I lived with a group of other orphans for about a month before pirates attacked. They called themselves the Greedy Dog Pirates and they took us to sell us as slaves on the Grand Line. That's awful. Vivi gasped. Those bastards. Sanji fumed, everyone else's eyes narrowing at the information. Grace and I came into the Grand Line in their hold, but their first stop was one of Baroque silent bases. They freed us, so us and the other orphans chose to join them. That was about 3 years ago. I was 17 and Grace was 13. You're 16? Jin balked, his head swiveling to stare at Grace. I thought you were 12 or something. Grace blinked, not responding. We can't be that, surprised, Nami offered. Despite his looks, Koby's also 16. Yeah, hey. Despite my looks? If you don't mind me asking, Chopper jumped in, what was the name of that virus? I don't remember, Amy answered, shaking her head. Between my parents' deaths and being kidnapped, I've blocked out most of the memories. To be honest, I don't even know if Greenbank is still there. Oh. Chopper's face fell. Well, you're with us now, Nami smiled, grabbing one of Amy's hands. I know he didn't get along before, but you're our crewmate now, so let's have a fresh start, okay? Okay. Amy smiled, Grace settling into a smug smirk now that her choice to join the crew with her sister was irreversible. I'm Amy Pallant, a sadist and chocolatier who ate the kilo fruit. I will do anything to protect my little sister Grace. She's a lazy artist who loves painting and rice crackers. You're stuck with us now, Jin chuckled, glancing at the practically vibrating form of their captain. No take-backs. One of us? Luffy yelled, throwing his hands up as the still hungover flinched. Why don't we get moving? Koby suggested. Mary isn't going to sail herself to Alabasta. Koby's right. Vivi agreed, some hesitation in her voice since the bright light outside would do her no favors in her current state. Let's get moving, Nami nodded, standing. All hands on deck. And that includes you, Zoro. Thank you so for saving my life. Most of the crew stared in equal parts confusion and horror as a reedy man in far too much makeup, puffy clothing that defied definition, and ballet shoes twirled on the toes of his left foot. Two decorations shaped like swans sat on his shoulders and his pink coat read Bon Clay on the back in kanji, barely distracting from his hairy and exposed legs. I was so certain my life was going to come to such a sudden and tragic end, but what happens but you all find me, snatching me from the vile jaws of the unforgiving ocean. Shortly after the Mary continued on her way, the Straw Hat Pirates came upon an area of the sea with steam rising from its surface. Much to Chopper's awe, Nami explained that there was an underwater volcano below it, and that it would become a new island in a few hundred years. Though the steam itself was harmless, it did taste like rotten eggs, an outcome they were unprepared for. In the midst of this steam, cries for help echoed over their starboard bow, Luffy's powers reaching for the desperate castaway immediately. He was revealed as soon as the steam cleared, leaving the crew here, with the man dancing. Koby blinked, trying not to let the man's wardrobe get to him. Why were you in the middle of the ocean? My tale is one of woe. The person cried. You see, I was practicing my ballet for my crew upon my ship when that wretched steam appeared. In the confusion, one of my J took me too far and I plunged into the sea. But perhaps it was fate. Is your crew nearby? Sanji tried, hope clear in his voice. Please tell me you know where they are so we can get get you back to them? Alas, I do not know. Ballet Akama answered, turning with a pirouette to face the chef. Said chef shivered, silently wishing he could be in the kitchen with Grace and Jin, the latter of whom was apparently suffering from a minor case of alcohol poisoning. It seems I must wait for their arrival. In the meantime, would you folks like to see a trick? Yes. Luffy yelled, instantly answering for the crew. Three Usopp and Chopper were quick to echo his cry. Then, my friends, watch this. The man's right arm shot forward, smacking Luffy in the face. The captain squawked, the force wrenching him from between Usopp and Chopper and into the wall behind them. Hey! Chopper gasped. What was that for, you jerk? Usopp agreed. Jerk. The doctor echoed. Really rude jerk. Slow down, my friends. The Akama said, his voice calming. That was simply the setup. For my personal talents require me to either touch a person's face or simply memorize it after many hours. Behold. With his setup established, the womanly man placed his left hand on his own cheek. His form blurred for a second before the face replaced itself with an exact copy of Luffy's, though the Akama's clothes were still something of a fashion nightmare. Whoa. The kitty trio gasped, enthralled. Wait, you said you couldn't swim, Koby realized as the man who had yet to give his name, the ancient zone noted, tapped both Usopp and Chopper. You have a devil fruit. I do. The guest responded, spinning to tap Nami, a sleeping Zoro, and Amy. Sanji, for his part, backed away while Koby was out of reach. Their guest's form shifted again, becoming Usopp. This is the power of the clone fruit. He became Chopper, shrinking down to the deer's brain point height. I can change my appearance to many different forms. He became Zoro. So many people in the world, he became Amy, and I can become anyone famous. He turned into a tan man somewhere in the older age range, smile lines by his eyes and a distinctive beard that matched his neck length, curly black hair. Hidden behind most of the straw hats where no one could see her, Vivi swallowed a gasp. And it's not just the faces, but their obvious body parts as well. He shifted into Nami before opening the front of his shirt, revealing an impressive sight to the male population on the deck. Though it was only visible for all of a single second on account of the original rushing forward with righteous feminine fury, both Luffy and Sanji were blown backwards by nosebleeds. Their bodies hitting the deck with a thump. Honestly, that's such a waste of your power, Amy noted, the Akama donning his original face with an added black eye. Come again? He asked. It's a waste, Amy repeated. You're treating your ability like it's his own, but I'd bet my umbrella that it's a Piromsha, isn't it? Chopper interrupted, his eyes taking on a whole new type of sparkle. Amy's right. Based on the powers you've shown us, your fruit can't possibly be a zone or a logia. Though Dr. Vegapunk's A Comprehensive Guide to Devil Fruits names those types as the more powerful initially, he also notes that Piromshas are the ones most difficult to pin down or counter. They are only limited by the user's imagination. Well, most of them, Amy agreed. Sure, some things, like our captain's fruit are cut and dry, but it's how you use it that make it strong. Your word is clone, so clone things. I see. The Akama gaped. Of course. Oh great miracle worker Rynkov, how could I have been so blind? I have been using my powers for espionage and parlor tricks when it could be so much more. Reaching to his shoulder, the dancer removed one of the swans, cradling the decoration in his hands. His eyes narrowed as he focused, a visible drop of sweat beading on his brow before rolling down, carving a line through his makeup. The face of the swan wavered before settling, unchanged save for the second beak under the first. It worked. He cried, flinging wide his arms to bring Amy into a hug that twirled her in a circle. He planted a kiss right on her lips in his excitement, the blonde pushing him away with a disgusted grunt, green lipstick smeared on her lips. She tried to rub it off. The Akama, undeterred by her lack of enthusiasm, danced. Captain. A chorus of voices called, a ship with a swan figurehead pulling up alongside the Going Merry. "Captain, we found you. Oh, my brave crew." The Ikama smiled. "This is where we must part, my friends, but I know that the winds of fate will have us meet again. Until then. The Terwa." With another jade, the dancer leapt to his own ship. "Set sail." "Yes sir, Mr. 2, Mr. Bon Clay, sir." "What?" Nami gasped, a strangled sound like a drowning cat clawing its way from Amy's throat. The rest of the crew reacted with various forms of shock, unable to do any more as the apparent Baroque number agent sailed away. That was. Koby tried. "And you just made him stronger." Usopp yelled, rounding to point a finger at the Kilo woman. "You're still on their side." "I am not." Amy shot back, her anger at herself now coming out on a different target. "How was I supposed to know? I'd never met him before." "He didn't tell us his name," Koby whispered, his voice still carrying to the others. Koby sucked in a breath, repeating himself again with a little more confidence. "He never told us his name. I should have said something before, but it all happened so fast, and now he can turn into any of us." "Not all of us," Sanji offered, lighting a fresh cigarette. "He didn't get you or me or Vivi, and Jin and Grace-chan missed this whole thing. I should have stopped him," Vivi muttered. That face. That face he showed us, that wasn't one of yours, that was my father's face." "He has my father's face." "So?" Luffy asked, stepping forward. "He's one of those broke guys, right? If we see him again, we'll kick his ass while we stop Grok. Maybe he'll be a friend like Jin and Grace and Amy, maybe not, but we'll do that later." The deck froze as Luffy's little speech came to an end, the crew staring at him in shock. "What? Is there meat on my face?" "That was actually really profound, Luffy," Nami offered, breaking the surprised silence. "I'm not sure if really is the correct modifier there," Koby muttered. "A profound me? What's he do? Is it a pro cook? I really hope it's a pro cook." And the moment's gone, Usopp sighed. "Sanji, I'm hungry. Give me meat." "Hold up," Nami ordered, grabbing the back of Luffy's shirt before he could race for the kitchen. "Now that Mr. 2 has our faces, we can't do nothing. We need some way to make sure we don't get fooled." "We can figure that out while we eat," Luffy shrugged. "Come on. Land ho!" Sanji called from the crow's nest, his announcement pulling the rest of the crew from their various tasks around the ship. The temperature noticeably rose as the Merry drew closer, the desert kingdom rising from the horizon like a great, tan line. On the shore stood a bustling city with a sprawling area of docks, ships of all sizes and makes bobbing in the water. "It's Nanohana," Vivi said, a nostalgic sigh escaping her at the sight. She leaned forward, her hands resting on the rail as she watched her kingdom near. "It's been 2 whole years since the last time I was here." Her hand shifted to a cloth wrap tied around her left wrist, a wrap shared by every human, or part human, in the crew. They held a contingency for facing Mr. 2 should it come to it. Even with the crew's special tattoos, there was no guarantee that the clone man couldn't copy them. The princess was snapped out of her musings as a small hand tugged on her sleeve, the Blinette looking down to see Grace chewing on a rice cracker. The painter looked up to make eye contact, only to turn toward the shore and point. "Familiar," the redhead said. "What?" Vivi questioned, recognition flashing across her face. "Shit. That's Mr. 3's ship in the harbor. I thought you said you all left him on Little Garden." Chopper blinked. "He and Mr. 5 must have found a way back," Amy frowned. "They probably got past us while we were on Drum Island, but how? It takes a year for a log pose to reset there. It's possible that there are log poses from other crews that didn't survive," Koby offered with a thoughtful tilt of his head and a hand on his chin. "Why didn't we think of that?" Nami sighed, only for a yelp to escape her as Luffy rushed past like a missile. He didn't make it too far before crashing into the water with a splash, but his reasoning was explained through the lingering echo of food hanging in the air. "You dumbass." Nami, Zoro, Sanji, and Jin chorused. "Wah. You agreed. I'll save you," Chopper yelled, shifting into his heavy point and diving over the side. "You can't swim." Koby tried, his warning too late. His hand rose, pressing against his forehead in aggravation as his gaze turned to the sky. "Oh, for the love of Goddess Namaka, you may hate them and you may hate me now, but please forgive them their failure to think." "What, that a prayer?" Usopp blinked, Jin diving into the water after their captain and doctor. "I don't think I've ever heard you pray before, Koby." "I don't do it too often," the Rosette responded. "Malon's gods are mostly focused on the ocean, which doesn't help me when I can't swim now. I haven't been able to actively do anything for years, anyway. For a time, I thought they'd forsaken me." "That's kind of morbid," the sniper frowned. "Well, we've recovered Luffy and Chopper," Nami interjected, "so I guess we can start making plans to go get supplies. Luffy's going to want to run off, so I'd like someone to go with him to at least try to keep him out of trouble." "I'll do it," Koby offered quickly, looking for something to distract himself just as much as he wanted to keep his captain out of trouble, like jumping into the water again. "I don't have any interest in going shopping for supplies. I trust you all don't need another pair of hands." "I'll go." "Toot," Grace piped up, pulling her bottle of green paint from her bag. "My paint can calm him down so he doesn't food." Splash. "Do that. Namaka, give me strength." Koby sighed, the Mary finally floating into the harbor as Jin, with a sigh, jumped in to fetch their captain once more. "Please let that paint work." Koby and Grace trailed behind a calm, quiet Luffy as the beheaded teen walked, though the streets of Nanohana. His eyes were closed, the pirate captain following the smell of tasty food for his path. Grace couldn't help but stare at the sight, a swirl of her calming green painted across his back. "So," Koby began in order to break the silence, pulling the artist from her thoughts, "have you ever been to Alabasta before?" Grace shifted her head just enough to see the zone in the edge of her vision, considering the question. "No," she answered with a small shake of her head. Mr. 3 said a lot about Alabasta, but I don't know how much was true now. Vivi told us that it's a desert country with little rain. They are one of the original members of the world government and the ruling family are the Nefertari family. Other than that, we only know that Crocodile has a base here somewhere and is planning a takeover. "Okay." Grace turned her head as they continued, studying the surroundings in order to paint them later. Landscapes were a basic skill of any artist, but range in such artwork was more difficult than the average viewer thought. Silence stretched between them. "My swords were made here," Koby offered, uncomfortable with the silence. "Really? That was actually an interesting piece of trivia." "Yeah," Koby nodded. "I bought them back in Logtown in the East Blue. I knew Alabasta was a desert kingdom from what I'd seen in the papers, so I decided to call them the Sabaku no Kiba, the desert's fangs. I thought it would be appropriate. But this is your first time here. I'd like to meet the blacksmith that made them, but it's a big country and we don't have time to spare to go looking. Maybe when we're done, you can go looking." "We found it," Luffy interrupted, bringing the trio to a stop before a simple, small bar without a visible name. Following his nose, Luffy stepped inside while Koby and Grace glanced at each other. "I have a bad feeling about this," Koby sighed before the two followed their captain. Contrary to his normal energy, the calming green paint on Luffy made him quietly enter the bar, coming to a stop behind the person in the center of the bar facing the counter. It was a bear of a man wearing a fur-lined jacket in white colors despite the heat. A blue jut was strapped to his back. "I don't care that you aren't here to pillage," the man was saying, his gruff voice sending a shiver down Koby's spine, though he had not ever seen the man. "You are a wanted pirate and it's my job to take you in." "Oh, don't be like that," the man the Marine was presumably talking to waved off. I'm just here waiting for someone I want to check up on. Besides, a fight between us would cause damage but go nowhere." While Koby reacted to the voice of the Marine, Luffy reacted to the voice of the other man. Ignoring the lawman, Luffy stepped around him without a care to see the one sitting at the counter. The man who was sitting seemed to be in his late teens to early 20s with a mop of jet black hair under an orange hat. His grinning face was a splash of freckles under his dark eyes that danced with excitement. He wore no shirt to show off his toned torso and six-pack. His shorts were orange in color to match his hat and khaki style to provide a plethora of pockets. Completing his outfit were black shoes and had decorations in the form of a happy face and frowny face pair of buttons. "Despite your words, you are a pirate. I cannot let you." The Marine's words fizzled as Luffy stepped around him, walking up to his fellow beheaded pirate before wrapping his arms around him. "Luffy." The pirate laughed, returning the hug. "Hey, Ace. It's been a while. Did you get my message?" "What message?" "We just got here from Drum." "But that's where." "Never mind. Lou, you're acting weird," Ace muttered, concerned. "Did something happen to you after I left?" "Oh, that," Luffy blinked. "I've got mystery paint on my back that's making me calm or something." "It's chemistry, not mystery," Koby heard Grace whine beside him. On the other side of the bar, Ace reached around Luffy's back to smear the paint affecting him. "Ace." Luffy jumped, tackling Ace to the floor with all his pent-up energy. "It's been too long, Ace. I've missed you so much." "That's better." Ace laughed, ruffling Luffy's hair. "What is this?" the Marine demanded, smoke rising from the sleeves of his shirt. "No. That doesn't matter. The fact is that my prey has come before me. I'm here for you, Straw Hat Luffy." "Do I know you?" Luffy questioned, a visible vein growing on the Marine's forehead. "Wait, you're Smokey from Log Place." "That's Captain Smoker from Logtown, pirate." Smoker's arms dissipated, turning into smoke that hovered around him. Other patrons of the bar screamed, fleeing out the door whether they had paid for their food or not. Straw Hat Luffy and Fire Fist Ace. "I don't need to go into the extensive list of what you've done, Fire Fist, but you, Straw Hat, ruined my perfect streak at Logtown, but that man isn't here to save you. For crimes against the world government, you are both under arrest." White Snake. Luffy dove to the side, preemptively dodging the sudden attack. Behind the Marine, Koby and Grace readied themselves for a fight. The hand that reached for the pirates was met by a pillar of fire, the two attacks canceling each other's forward motion. The smoke and fire spiraled, wrestling with each other until the rising heat blasted a hole in the roof and raised the temperature of the room a few degrees. Ace taunted, wagging his burning finger as if he were scolding a naughty child. "Bad. You aren't allowed to lay a hand on my baby brother." "Baby brother?" Smoker, Koby, and Grace gasped in unison. "Cool." Luffy grinned. "Did you eat a devil fruit, Ace?" "I sure did," Luffy's apparent brother nodded. "It's a logia called the Flame Fruit." "Ace." Luffy jumped to his feet, grabbing his older brother's arm. "I want you to meet my crew. I've got my own ship and everything. Do not ignore me," Smoker demanded, launching another attack. His hand, however, almost immediately curved upward and behind him, slamming into a red swirl painted in the corner of the room. He turned, confusion written on his face, only for his next punch to do the same thing. "What the hell is this?" "Color trap, bullfight red," Grace yawned, already replacing her paints in her satchel. "Until you get some help, you can't attack anywhere else." "And you are?" the Marine demanded. "Come on," Luffy yelled, leaving Smoker's question unanswered. The pirate captain wrapped his rubbery arm all the way around Ace's waist, dragging him out of the establishment, leaving Smoker, Grace, and Koby behind. "You can't get away from me, Straw Hat." "He's gone," Koby realized with a blink. "Oh, crap. Grace." He turned to the artist, only to find her staring at a plate of onigiri on the counter. Seeming to feel his gaze, the artist turned to him, pointing at the plate without a word. Koby sighed. "Fine, what do you want?" "That." Trying to ignore the captain for the moment, the rosette stepped up to the counter where the owner was cowering. The man swallowed, afraid that this kid with the swords would do something to him, considering he came in with straw hat and the girl with the paint. "A plate of onigiri, please," Koby ordered, dropping money on the counter. With shaky hands, the man pushed a plate to the teen. Koby took it with quiet thanks, carrying it back to his companion who took it from him. While she sated her hunger, Koby turned his attention to the loggia, glaring at them. "Marine Captain Smoker," Koby began, snapping into a salute he had perfected over the many years since his parents' deaths. "Greetings. What is this, some sort of bad joke?" Smoker asked. "No joke, sir. I just want to thank you for the work that you do, limited as you are. Even so, I would like to tell you something while you are forced to listen to me. Once upon a time, I wanted to be a Marine, back before a pirate saved me. That was before I realized that the government was corrupt and that I could do more good outside the law than within it. Please consider my words and do not blindly follow your orders. Question the morality of what they tell you to do. Thank you." Koby dropped his salute, walking back over to Grace, who was on her last rice ball. She quirked an eyebrow as he approached. "What? Talking to the Marine? It's a personal thing," Koby began, walking past her to the door. "Back before I met Captain Luffy, He trailed off, the space behind him empty. He turned, seeing Grace standing where she had been. "Are you coming?" "I don't feel like walking, Koby." The rosette blinked. "Really? Now?" Grace shrugged, causing her companion to let out a heavy sigh. His face turned to the ceiling, 2 fingers pinching the bridge of his nose. "Fine, I'll carry you back to the ship." "K." Without argument, Grace settled onto Koby's back, resting her chin on the top of his head. "I can't believe you," Vizone grumbled. His words, however, were not able to cover the laugh of one of the patrons as they left. "Poor kid. He's whipped and doesn't even know it." Koby's face burned, the teen all too aware of the heat in his cheeks as the 2 young pirates left the bar behind. "Nami Swan. Vivi." Sanji's voice called, attracting the attentions of the female pirate and princess currently tucked inside the broken walls of a stone building destroyed in a recent pirate attack yet to be rebuilt. Said building was next to the market, close enough that it was something of an agreed meeting point since the crew had gone their separate ways to prepare for their trip into the desert. Sanji, his legs like a tornado and his arms like noodles, approached the girls, offering the bags he was carrying. "I bought those clothes you needed, Vivi." "Thank you, Sanji," the billionaire nodded, accepting the blue bag the chef offered. Her smile only lasted until they pulled the clothing out to take a look at it. "Wait a minute. These are skimpy dancer outfits. Aren't they marvelous?" The blonde nodded. "I tried to image you and Nami Swan and Amy in them, but I know my imagination won't compare to the real sight. I hope this wasn't the sort of deal where you pay more for less cloth." Nami frowned, studying her own outfit. "I mean, we're gonna be covered up. And it might also help us keep cool." Yes," Vivi conceded. "That's true. Try them on," Sanji insisted, steam coming from his nose. "I need to know if I got the measurements right. I don't know if I want them to be right or wrong." The princess flinched. "Try them on," Sanji insisted. "Fine," the navigator responded, dragging Vivi behind a tall part of the wall so they could change in private. They emerged a moment later. Vivi's outfit was mostly blue while Nami's was closer to a dark purple, both with golden accents. The billionaire shuffled uncomfortably, unused to showing so much skin. Sanji, however, adored them both. "You're gorgeous." The blonde noodled. "Oh, be still, my heart. I can't believe I'm wearing this," Vivi grumbled. "I can't wait until Amy tries hers on as well." I'm sure it won't bother her, Nami commented, far less embarrassed than their crews. Is client the proper word? As long as you didn't buy one for Grace. I didn't, the chef answered. They didn't have any in her size. That shouldn't be your reason. Vivi exclaimed. Grace is too young to be wearing something like this. Well, she looks young, but she is 16, Nami thought aloud. She's only a few years younger than us. But anyway, it's good that Sanji couldn't find one for her, even if I think she wouldn't mind wearing it if Koby was watching. What does that have to do with anything? You haven't noticed? Sanji blinked. I've caught them glancing at each other when the other isn't looking every hour since we left Drum. Their conversation, however, was interrupted by yelling in the distance, Zoro and Usopp jumping a wall and hiding behind it. Both were trying to steady their breathing. What did you do? Nami accused. What makes you think we did anything? Usopp hissed, spying over the wall where a blue-haired woman had a sword drawn. And keep your voice down or she'll find us. She who? Another voice asked. The pirates jumped, their response scaring Chopper, who also jumped with a scream. His surprise had the adverse effect of attracting the attention of whomever Zoro and Usopp were running from. There you are, roared Noah. Come fight me, you sexist coward. I didn't pull my punches because you're a woman, you copycat. Zoro immediately shot back, giving away his position. What the hell are you getting us into? Nami demanded, much of the crew jumping back as the woman's sword slashed an entrance through the broken wall. She's beautiful. Sanji danced. She's a marine, dumbass. Zoro rebuffed, drawing Wado Akamenji to catch Tashigai's blade. I don't care if you think she's pretty. Everyone, let's meet back up at the ship, Vivi advised, a company of marines flooding in from the surrounding streets. It'll be easier to lose them if we split up. Good enough for me, Nami agreed. Run. Taking the women's advice, Zoro pushed Tashigai over and turned, running the opposite direction of Sanji. Wait a second, Luffy frowned, studying the crowd of armed men that had surrounded him and his brother in one of the wider back alleys. This isn't the way to the docks. Is it? Really? The man who seemed to be the leader of the men asked. A small army surrounds you, and you're worried about being lost? Yeah. We've got places to be. I apologize for my baby brother, Ace commented, though he didn't sound very sorry. So, who are you and what are you doing here? Well. The goon seemed taken aback by the polite response, but quickly shook it off. Listen up. Straw Hat Luffy and Fire Fist Ace, you both have bounties on your heads. I'm what you call a billion in the organization I work for, but killing you both would prove my skill and earn me a promotion. Nothing personal. Oh, you're one of Croc's guys, Luffy nodded, visible confusion passing through the crowd. If you want a fight, I'll give you one. Gum Gum Pistol. What are you? The billion didn't get to finish his question, Luffy's fist planting itself in his face. The force launched him backward and up, the man crashing through a second-story window. Wow, Lou. Ace laughed. You sure have gotten stronger since I left. More than that has changed, Luffy commented, unconcerned as the rest of the billions charged in. Luffy ducked as a pair of swords cut the air above him, one continuing on to slash through Ace. The man didn't move. The sword, causing him no damage on account of his Logia constitution. Ace smiled, spiking his powers so the sword melted completely as it left him, the steel splattering in the sand and dirt at their feet. Wow, Ace. That was awesome. That was nothing, Lou. These guys are nothing compared to what I've seen in the 3 years since I left. I've got this friend, ya die, freaks. The cracks of gunfire echoed through the street, a volley of bullets converging on the two pirates. Predictably, the bullets had no effect on the brothers, one reflecting them back while the other let them pass through, hitting the bounty hunters on the other side. Shishishi. Luffy laughed, the billions in disarray. You guys are stupid. Don't you know that freaks are strong? It's only a couple of pirates. Another, Billion yelled, charging in with his sword. Ace reacted in a moment, almost before the man had moved. With fingers tipped with some sort of black substance, not that Luffy could see, Ace caught the weapon. What the hell? The sword's wielder stuttered, trying with all his might to pull his blade free with no luck. Ace squeezed, shattering the blade. They sure don't make them how they used to. Eh, Lu? Ace asked, the brothers almost casually continuing down their path in the direction of the docks. Or at least, Luffy hoped that was the way they were going. Yup, the captain agreed. This is nostalgic. Since when did you know a word like nostalgic? I know that's not one we used on Mount Corvo. Nami taught it to me, Luffy answered, punching a Billion out of their path. She uses big words sometimes, so she teaches them to me. And Nami is my girlfriend. Ace stumbled, shocked, two blades passing through his head harmlessly. He recovered quickly, kicking his foes away before running up to catch his baby brother. You? Ace blinked. You got a girlfriend? How the hell did that happen? Tell me about her. I beat up the guy holding her captive, Luffy shrugged. Nami's my cruise navigator. She's got really pretty brown eyes and orange hair. I can't wait to meet her. She's awesome, but my whole crew is really interesting. We've got two swordsmen, one that fights with 3 swords and wants to be the world's greatest swordsman, and his student who fights with 2 and can turn into a dinosaur. Then we've got our perverted cook, Sanji. I got him from a floating restaurant. At the same time, I recruited a member from the creek. He spat out the name, pirates named Jin. And we've got a liar who's a really good shot. After getting to the Grand Line, I gained 3 more members. 2 of them are sisters, one with the devil fruit, and a doctor. Get this. Our doctor is a reindeer. Ace laughed. You don't say. That's, what, 10 of you? I guess that's a pretty good-sized crew you got there. Yeah, but I'm still looking for a musician. Would you consider joining the Whitebeard Pirates? You know Whitebeard? Luffy may be oblivious to most things, but even he'd heard of the famous Whitebeard, if only through Koby. Yeah, I'm a member of his crew. See this mark? The Flame Man gestured to his back, which was covered in a tattoo of Whitebeard's famous Jolly Roger, a skull with a large white mustache over a cross of the same color. This here is my pride and joy. He's like a father to me. That's why I'm going to help him become the king of the pirates. Sorry, Lu. I guess I'll just have to fight him then. Ace only laughed in response, unsure if Luffy was serious or not. Although, with Luffy's gusto, there was a good chance Whitebeard would try to adopt him, too, even if they did fight. There it is. Luffy cheered, grabbing Ace's wrist while running toward the docks. One ship they passed was a marine vessel, and Ace was sorely tempted to light it on fire, but there didn't seem to be any activity. The Marines were probably out chasing pirates, the poor schmucks. The firehuman followed Luffy's gaze to a small caravel with a ram figurehead, docked inconspicuously between 2 larger merchant ships. That's our ship, the Going Merry. Welcome back, Don Luffy, Jin greeted as the captain arrived, pulling himself and his guest up with liberal use of his rubber powers. No problems to report, though the others aren't back yet. Where did they go? They went out shopping shortly after you, Koby, and Grace left, the Tonfuser responded. Speaking of, where's my sister? Luffy, Ace, and Jin turned their attention to the crow's nest where Amy was floating down, her eyes set on their captain. They drifted just enough to see Ace, pausing over his exposed ABS. Amy blushed. And who is this? Jin. Amy. This is my brother, Ace. You have a brother? Amy and Jin gaped, their jaws hitting the deck. You never mentioned me to you crew? Ace questioned. Never? It never came up, Jin offered slowly, studying their guest. He could have sworn he'd seen the man before, but he couldn't quite place it. Welcome to the Going Merry, the ship of the Straw Hat Pirates. It's nice to see that Luffy's being taken care of, Ace grinned. Jin. Amy. We're back. Speaking of siblings, Jin commented, walking to the railing, where he released the rope ladder. Grace's red hair appeared first, quickly followed by the pink of Koby's as the boy climbed the ladder with the artist holding on to not fall off his back. The Zone let out a small breath of relief as his feet hit the floorboards. Though Grace was not heavy by any stretch and Zoro's training had done wonders for Koby's strength and stamina, the distance from the restaurant where they left Smoker to the Going Merry was not short. I can't wait to hear your reasons for this, Pinky, Amy began, hands on her hips as she studied the boy carrying her little sister. She didn't want to walk, Koby tried, knowing the excuse, though true, was flimsy at best. While her sister grilled Koby, Grace slipped off his back and patted her way to Ace, tapping on his arm to get his attention. The Whitebeard pirate turned. Hi, Grace began, being forced to look up just to see his face. I like your hat. Thanks, kid, Ace laughed, noting that the girl had a similar hat herself. You're the one with the paint, right? You know, I might have something for you. Slinging his bag off his shoulder, Ace reached in, rummaging around for a moment before pulling out a button similar in size to the ones on his hat, unlike his, which had a comedy and tragedy mask in blue respectively. This one was a nice green with closed eyes and a soft smile, a look of indifference. Thanks, Grace nodded, taking the button. Rather than put it on her hat, she pinned it to her satchel on the strap. I like it. Amy, can you go up and find the others? Luffy asked, growing bored of waiting. I want them to meet Ace. Sure, Luffy, the blonde grunted, giving Koby one more pointed glare as if to say I'm watching you before opening her parasol and floating away. She settled on the top of the mast, balancing herself on the tip before scanning the parts of the city that she could see. Her eye was drawn to several small commotions causing havoc in the streets. Her eyes widening, Amy recognized those being pursued. Goated, damn it. What is it? The Marines found them. The blonde called down to answer her captain's question. How close are they? Taking a breath, Amy refocused on the various chance scenes as Usopp and Karyu flipped a table of jewelry at the Marines chasing them. They seemed to be the closest to the docks with Nami and Vivi a couple streets away, losing the group after them by passing through what may have been the red light district, if the way they had to drag Sanji by his collar were any indication. Zoro and Chopper were having more trouble, running in circles while a woman with a sword led the charge after them. Amy relayed this information as best she could, well enough that Jin seemed to recognize one of the Marines. Those are the ones from Logtown. The man realized, Takashi or something. That woman has it out for Zoro because she thinks he took it easy on her on our way out. Oh, her, Koby blinked. She might want his swords, too. Is that supposed to be an innuendo? Ace asked. What's that? Luffy blinked. Can you eat it? Oh, damn it. That reminds me that I didn't get any food. No, Koby answered for both questions. She wants to take Zoro-sensei's swords from him because they're named blades and he's a pirate. Does it look like they're getting away? Not on their life with the hate boner that Marine seems to have, Amy responded. The what? Nothing, Lou, Ace intercepted. Captain, I want to help, the pink-haired pirate announced. I can find my way back easy enough and feel like I should be able to delay her long enough for Zoro-sensei and Chopper to get out. Oh, the best way for you to get there fast is for Luffy to throw you. Amy piped up as Usopp arrived on the docks on Karyu's back, the Marines that had been on their tail nowhere to be found. Good idea. The beheaded teen agreed before Koby could protest, one arm wrapping around the younger boy while the other latched onto the mast below Amy. Said DevilFruit user simply, pointed her parasol in the right direction, mentioning the distance. Captain, I don't think. Koby didn't finish sentence before Luffy let go with a cry of gum gum catapult. You're still up to your usual antics, Lou. Ace laughed, Koby disappearing with almost a twinkle. Usual? Jin choked. As in, he did this before us? Meanwhile, the whistling wind tore the scream from Koby's lips, the tan landscape of roofs and canvas only a blur below him. In the distance, the telltale green of his teacher moved, fleeing from the blue and white of the Marines behind. Deciding that he would try to chew his captain out later, the zone shifted into his dino mode, the form being heavier than his human shape. The increased weight curved him approach, luck landing him directly between his crewmates and the swordswoman leading the charge against them. Koby hit the ground hard, his legs shaking from the impact and at least one of the bones on his right leg cracked. Not to the point of slowing him down, he'd cracked plenty of bones during training, but just enough to annoy him. His sudden appearance took the female Marine by surprise, the bayonet slamming into his flank. Koby responded quickly, roaring at the Navy's agents. "Koby!" Chopper gasped, he and Zoro turning to see the Triceratops. "What are you doing here?" "Captain Luffy wants us back on the ship," the dinosaur commented. "Go on. I'll delay this group." "You got this, Shrimp," Zoro nodded, starting to head deeper into the city before Chopper grabbed his sleeve to lead him the right way. Tashigai, a sergeant major for a reason, recovered quickly. She unsheathed her sword, ready to resume the chase. Koby, however, would have none of that, his dinosauric tail coming down in front of her. She stepped back, her sword raised. "DevilFruit?" the Marine asked. "That's correct," Koby nodded, placing himself between Tashigai and the way to the docks. "Who are you?" she demanded. "Step aside. Those pirates need to be brought to justice." "Pardon me if our definitions of justice differ, Miss Tashigai. How do you know my name?" "Oh, right," Koby blinked, only then realizing he was still in his dino mode. "My apologies. My powers are still new, so I forget about my appearance sometimes. This should do it." Pushing up with his front feet so he became bipedal, Koby's body shrunk back into his human mode. He gave a polite bow. "This really isn't personal, Miss Tashigai. You." The Marine realized. "You're that kid that was with Roronoa in Logtown." "I'm Koby, Zoro-sensei's student and a practitioner of two-sword style." "What?" the woman gaped. "How can you be so polite as a pirate? Why are you even a student of that bastard? All pirates are evil." "Some, but not all," Koby countered, unsheathing his Sabaku no Kiba in an instant. "I lost my parents to pirates years ago, but Captain Luffy and Zoro-sensei changed my whole outlook on the world. I wanted to be a Marine, but the world government is messed up beyond repair, at least for those in need now. I can do more help as a pirate outside the rules and regulations. Please don't hate me for it." "Get out of my way," Tashigai ordered, lunging forward with a downward slash. Koby caught her sword with a crossblock, bringing her growling face close. "As a swordsman, you should know how rare and powerful the swords Roronoa carries are. Such legendary blades do not belong in the hands of pirates. Such blades belong to those powerful enough and worthy," Koby countered, jumping back to gain some distance. His form grew, settling into his hybrid mode. Zoro-sensei made a vow to become the strongest. "I will not let you cut his dream short because of your misguided sense of justice. How dare you call me misguided, you pirate?" Enraged by what she considered hypocrisy, Tashigai rushed in, her gear shining in the sunlight. Koby, however, had been trained with a sink-or swim method by Roronoa Zoro. In comparison, it was like she was moving through water. His right sword caught the attack, a faint breeze playing with the pink hair on the nape of his neck. Tashigai's arms, powerful enough to fight just about any opponent from the East Blue, strained against Koby's zone-enhanced strength. "You did not save a town from a tyrannical captain," Koby argued. "You did not save an island from a pirate invasion by Kuro of 1,000 plans, nor did you save the Barity from Don Creek." The Marines were nowhere to assist the former Drum Kingdom or relegate the arrogant former King Wapol. At least those times, the Marines were absent. At least they weren't actively assisting the pirates like the ones from Branch 16 helping Arlong. "Shut up!" the woman yelled, pulling back only to attack with a flurry of strikes, each punctuated with another yell. "Shut up! Shut up! Shut up! You're lying! The Marines are justice. Not filthy pirates like you and your coward teacher. No need to be rude." Tashigai's hot anger made her sloppy, one overextension allowing Koby to land a pommel strike on her wrist. The hit forced her to let go of her sword, Shigure stabbing into the ground at the zone's feet while his other sword rested on Tashigai's shoulder. "I cannot force you to listen to me, but the Marines are not infallible. There are good people in the Corps, but even a little power can corrupt. The good are not alone. Do it," Tashigai spat, glaring at the zone with a sword by her neck. "Kill me. Take another life like the countless others lost in this so-called Great Pirate Era." "No." Koby retreated, his hybrid mode fading as he sheathed his swords and turned around to walk away. "Captain Luffy doesn't want us to get blood on our hands when we can avoid it. Too many nightmares." "You coward!" Tashigai hissed. "It's because I'm a woman, isn't it?" Snatching her sword from the ground, the Marine charged the pirates back. There wasn't enough time for Koby to draw his weapons, the bayonet getting closer with each passing moment. Desperate, Koby shifted once more, his horns just managing to grow in time to catch Shigure's blade. Sparks sparked as steel fought against ivory bone. Breaking the stalemate, Koby twisted, his tail catching Tashigai in the gut. While she was disoriented, Koby fled, quickly shrinking back into his human mode and blending into the crowd several streets over. Damn pirates. Chapter 11. "So, this is my older brother, Ace," Luffy introduced as the Mary sailed away from the port of Nanohana. "Ace, this is my crew. That's Pirate Hunter Zoro, his student Koby, our sniper Usopp, our chef Sanji, the man Demon Jin, the sisters Amy and Grace, our Dr. Chopper, he's a reindeer. Isn't that cool? And finally my girlfriend Nami, our navigator. Thank you all for being there to care for my little brother," Ace said, bowing. "I know he can be a bit of a handful all of the time. And you," he indicated Nami. "I wasn't sure if I believed you were real or not. I mean, I was pretty sure when I left 3 years ago that my brother was asexual." Ace smirked. "So tell me, do his powers change anything in the bed?" "Nope." Nami interrupted, her face the same color as the band on Luffy's hat. "We haven't done any of that." "Any of what?" Luffy asked. "You know how I sleep, Ace. Why would you ask if my powers changed that?" "Never mind," the Whitebeard pirate sighed, slightly put out. How was he supposed to be the embarrassing older brother when his target was completely ignorant of such things? It was very disappointing. "Anyway, I don't think you've introduced me to this other young lady." "Oh, right. This is Vivi, the Princess of Alabasta, and her duck, Karyu." "And what is a princess like yourself doing on a pirate ship?" he asked her. "Trying to save my homeland," the princess answered honestly, wary of this new pirate. "What is a pirate like you doing in my country?" "I'm looking for someone by the name of Blackbeard. He was a member of my division, but committed the worst crime a pirate could. He killed a crewmate and jumped ship. Now it's my job to track him down. I'd heard rumors that he was around here." Warning. Usopp called from the crow's nest where he had taken up a position in an attempt to give Ace a good first impression. "There are 5 ships coming toward us. They're Baroque works. Let me handle this, Luffy," Ace offered. He hopped off the ship and into his own small boat tied to the Mary. He unhooked it and took off, powering the boat with his DevilFruit powers. Ace sped toward the ships as fire slowly covered his body. Heiken. Fire Fist, a massive ball of fire in the shape of a fist shot out, hurtled toward the closest ship, and made contact. The fire engulfed the ship, burning every man on board to a crisp and lighting every piece of wood on fire. The Straw Hats watched in awe as he maneuvered his ship to attack the other 4 vessels, ending all of them and all of their crews in one strike. Usopp muttered. "He just killed all those people. That's the power of a Whitebeard division commander? Koby wondered in awe. Next to him, Grace dropped her rice cracker. That was so cool, Ace. Luffy shouted. Ace took his time returning, stopping to show off and do some tricks before his boat was hooked back up to the Going Merry. He climbed onto the ship and was promptly glomped by Luffy. It was slow, but the crew was able to pry their captain off of his brother. So where to next? Zoro asked, slightly annoyed by the delay. I need to find my way to Rain Base, Ace stated. We're headed in that direction, Vivi offered, a mask of indifference on her face. We need to go up the Sandora River to start. Then we'll drop anchor by Ramalu and hike through the desert to Yunba. Last I heard, the rebels were based there. Rain Base is to the north of Yunba. What are we waiting for? Koby questioned. Let's go. Luffy cheered. The crew maneuvered the Merry in the direction they needed to go. Once their course was set, Usopp rounded up the crew for an announcement. All right, everyone, he began, trying to pretend he was the captain. As your wonderful leader, I have made an investment for the crew. Oh? Nami interrupted. You spent your allowance on something for everyone, not just yourself? Yes, I did, he answered smugly, bringing a medium-sized bag out from behind his back. Out of the bag, he pulled a snail small enough to fit in the palm of his hand. This snail was an aqua color and had a mark under its left eye stalk that looked like Luffy's scar. On the side of its white shell, the straw hat mark was painted on both sides, the microphone on top stylized to be the hat. To completing its image, Usopp also pulled out a tiny straw hat that looked like Luffy's and placed it on the snail's eyes. I got us a Den Mushi. Usopp smiled. Luffy ran over and gingerly stole the snail phone from Usopp's hand, happily examining it. As he tickled the snail, causing it to wiggle happily, Usopp pulled more presents from his bag, baby Den-Dens all mounted on watch straps. They had caps labeled from 1 to 14 with little straw hats that Usopp informed them that he'd painted himself. I was also able to get a batch of baby Den-Den so we could stay in contact. Great thinking. Chopper gushed, studying the tiny snails. Wasn't it, though? Usopp responded. One could almost see his head getting bigger. Yeah, Nami drawled, except for the fact that it was my idea back when we were on Drum Island and I told him to remind me. Well, Luffy began, hopping over to his girlfriend and wrapping an arm around her waist, much to Sanji's chagrin and Ace's satisfaction, the Den-Den in his other hand. Since it was your idea to get these guys, why don't you name this one? She hummed. How about Shelly? Perfect. The baby Den-Den were passed out as well, each member of the crew getting the one whose number corresponded with their official joining. So Luffy got 1, Zoro 2, Koby 3, Usopp 4, Sanji 5, Jin 6, Nami 7, Grace 8, Amy 9, and Chopper 10. Usopp said that he'd gotten more for the others that would inevitably join, knowing Luffy's persuasive arguments. Usopp also admitted that he'd gotten his own personal Den-Den for calling his girlfriend back on Gecko Island. The fact that he had a significant other shocked the sisters, the doctor, and the princess. Nevertheless, he went to the men's quarters to do just that and inform Kaya that his story of fighting a giant goldfish was, in fact, now true due to the events after a little garden. Even if his story role was a little bit bigger than it had been in real life. Hey, Nami, Vivi called out. Could we stop here for a second? Why? I have a mission for Karyu. The Straw Hats dropped anchor by the shore, allowing Vivi, Karyu, Luffy, Usopp, and Koby to let themselves on shore. There, they watched as Vivi gave Karyu his instructions. This is a letter to my father about everything that has happened so far, including Crocodile's plans that we uncovered. I trust that you will get it there safely. You have plenty of water for the trip, but conserve it all the same. Go now. Karyu saluted the princess and ran off in a cloud of dust, stopping every couple hundred meters to take a gulp from his water supply. I said conserve. Vivi yelled at him. Not consume. He'll be fine, Koby assured the princess. I've seen how fast he can run. No one could catch him. Yeah. She sounded melancholic. She and her duck hadn't been separated for as long as his mission would take in the last 3 years. I know. I'm just worried is all. Let's just get going, Usopp offered. Iranalu shouldn't be that far ahead, we can get there quickly. Good idea, Usopp, Luffy complimented. You all heard him. Raise anchor. Finally. Luffy exclaimed, ready to jump off the ship. Time to go kick Crocodile's ass? Zoro was preparing to drop anchor, that being his assigned duty. There were shadows in the water, but he thought nothing of it and dropped the weight. The anchor hit the water before rebounding into his hand. The hell? He wondered aloud. He threw the anchor, but it came back to him. Out of the water came a pod of animals that looked like seals with turtle shells. Turtles? Actually, Luffy commented, I think they're seals. They could be small manatees, Jin suggested. They're kung fu dugongs, Vivi told them. We can't stop here. The dugong in the lead made several noises, gesturing at the crew the whole time. You'll have to beat me in a fight if you want to land here, you bunch of cowards, Chopper translated. He says, the reindeer added. No one calls the brave Captain Usopp a coward. The sniper declared. He jumped off the ship and onto the rocks ... and was promptly beaten up by the semi-aquatic, martial artists. Kung fu dugongs are really strong. Vivi told him a little too late. That wasn't too hard. Luffy laughed, half of the pod scattered around him. Captain Luffy, Koby muttered, rubbing his face. Damn it, Luffy, Zoro sighed. Luffy. Vivi cried. If a kung fu dugong loses a fight, it becomes the student of the person who beat it. They think you are their master now. Cool, Luffy laughed. Hey, Koby. Captain's orders, you're gonna help me train half of these guys. Koby groaned. He could hear some of the crew laughing at him. Oh, the pains of being one of the first and most trusted. And of course Luffy would have chosen him. Zoro would have just fallen asleep or something. Nevertheless, the younger Zone climbed down from the ship to stand beside his captain, whom all the animals were bowing before. All right. Luffy announced. This is Koby. He'll be teaching any of you that want to learn weapons. With his declaration, about a fifth of the pod split off to dive into the water only to return a few seconds later, sticks in hand. Begrudgingly, Koby led the smaller group through beginner's exercises as Luffy showed the larger group how he fought. Koby had to admit, they were very fast learners. Soon, he was forced to move on to advanced exercises. Meanwhile, Amy-chan. Sanji noodled. I got you some new clothes. He pulled out a dancer outfit identical to the ones Nami and Vivi were wearing in a yellow color. All you, thanks, she said, giving a fake smile. She took the two-piece outfit, fully intending to burn it and revel in Sanji's tears. The woman headed to the women's quarters, leaving the love-struck cook behind. Opening the door, Amy found Nami and Grace inside, the latter helping the former into a white robe to cover her blue dancer outfit, a rice cracker in her mouth. What are you doing? The blonde asked. Covering up, the navigator answered. Vivi said that any exposed skin would get sunburned, so she suggested that we get robes for when we're in the desert. She and I got one for everyone while we were out in Nanohana. She noticed the clothes Amy was carrying. I see Sanji gave you the clothes he bought. You can wear them, they're comfy and he won't see anything under your robe anyway. If you say so. Could you help me, little sis? Grace nodded to her older sister. While that was happening, the other crew members were making their own preparations. Chopper was making extra rumble balls, Usopp tweaking a special weapon Nami had requested and tested next to him. Sanji was covering Nami's tangerine orchard to protect them from the harsh desert winds before moving to the kitchens to get food ready for their trip. Jin and Zoro were working in silence in the shade of the mast, maintaining their weapons for the inevitable battle. Vivi, in a dark blue robe, was staring out over the horizon, thinking about Karyu, and the war, and her country in general. As for Ace, he was sleeping on the deck in the bright sunlight, his nose spontaneously combusting in random intervals. I'm just going to overview their trek since very few things of interest happened if we cut out the fillers, which I will. The trip to Aramilu was quite boring. Luffy whined through half of it, disappointed that they couldn't bring any of the kung fu dugongs with them through the desert, but he gave in the end due to a mixture of logic and, when that didn't work, violence. The fighting animals were left to guard the Going Merry instead. The city of Aramilu itself was deserted, not a single soul in sight and the buildings crumbling. Vivi told them the sad story of how the city of Green had withered away from the drought and the civil war. The group moved on quickly, there was nothing of value to them there and the ruins were just plain depressing. The desert wasn't exactly fun either. It was scorching by day, leading to many fights over conserving water. Chopper ended up having to be carried or drug along due to his fur coat nearly giving him heat stroke. That night was possibly worse for all but the reindeer. The temperature sunk faster than a devil fruit user in the ocean, leading to a lot of shivering. Most of the males ended up sleeping in one big pile, Zoro, Sanji, Jin, and Ace sitting on the outside and all the rest knotted up within. The females slept in a separate, much more orderly, bundle. A sandstorm blew in the next morning, burying their tents in sand. The crew was able to dig them out, but it was a pain and a half. They continued to trek onward much like the day before. Eventually, after many hours of travel, they spotted a rocky outcropping that provided shade and decided to eat and renew their strength there before continuing. Within the rocks, they found a gaggle of white birds with distinctive, swirl-styled head feathers, all of them looking beaten and bruised. Chopper ran forward to try to help, but Vivi held the others back. She informed them that those birds were thieves that stole from weary travelers. With the realization that the small creature was a doctor, the birds fled, knowing that their injuries were fake. With the birds gone, the group enjoyed a pleasant meal. Had Luffy not been mellowed out by Koby's influence or his dating Nami, it's possible he could have ended up losing all of their supplies to the conniving avian flock. As it was, though, they didn't have to worry about that. Their peaceful meal was interrupted by the call of a panicked animal. In the distance, a camel loaded with a saddle could be seen running from a large dust cloud. As the desert mammal drew closer, the thing chasing it was revealed to be a Sandora dragon, a purple lizard with razor-sharp teeth and claws, big enough to swallow any of the pirates whole. Luffy decided to rescue the camel by having himself, Sanji, Zoro, and Jin attack the reptile, killing it with one combined blow. Ace ended up killing a second when the first's mate attacked from the other side. The pirate captain extended their lunch so the group could eat the two gargantuan lizards. You know, Nami commented to the other women as they watched the males dig into the one Ace had fast-cooked, I almost feel bad for the monsters when they end up fighting us. I don't, Amy laughed sadistically. After all the confusion ended, it was made known that the camel and Chopper knew each other from a side trip the reindeer had taken when Sanji left him behind in Nanohana. When Luffy tried to ride him, the camel threw him off before grumbling something. I'm sorry, Chopper translated, but, while I am grateful for you saving me, and while I am willing to carry some of you, only female passengers are allowed. I'm just too macho to carry any men. Perverted camel, the men whined in unison. What should we name him? Nami asked. Stupid, Luffy suggested, waving his arm. Moron, Zoro offered with a yawn. Idiot, Sanji growled, glaring at the camel. Pervert, Koby grumbled, crossing his arms and pouting. Bastard, Jin supplied helpfully. Eyelash it is, then, Nami finalized. She, Vivi, Grace, and a 1-kilogram Amy boarded the mammal. With their new companion and Zoro carrying Chopper on his shoulder, the crew and their three friends struggled forth. Yobi couldn't be that much farther, could it? Chapter 12. As it turned out, Yobi was farther than the pirates thought. It took 6 days of traveling to get them to their destination and Ace left on the 4th, A meeting with a bounty hunter and his two sons telling him that Blackbeard had been spotted in the east. Before leaving, Ace gave Luffy a piece of paper and said that it would reunite them one day. The younger brother, taking the paper with equal parts confusion and eagerness, had it sewn into the band of his hat by Nami for safekeeping and waved enthusiastically as his older brother's form slowly faded into the desert haze. The town of Yuba was deserted when they arrived, dried-out plants and crumbling buildings, greeting them from under a thick layer of sand as they entered the once crossroads of Alabastian traders. The pirates wandered into the town silently, more than one of the crew jumping at the howling wind that blew through the buildings as the desert sun slowly sunk below the horizon. Vivi openly cried, seeing the town her childhood best friend and his father had gone to start in ruins only built on the despair she'd been feeling more and more as the years since the start of the drought passed by. The only life they found in the village was an old man digging in the center of town. He was rail-thin, torn clothing hanging off him indicating that he lost a lot of weight recently. A bushy, stark-white mustache hung over his upper lip and regular sandals covered his feet. He introduced himself as Toto, the mayor of Yoa. "It's good to see that there are still people who travel the desert without fear of the war," the old man sighed, shaking his head. "And to think my idiotic son is leading it now. I kept telling him to trust in our royal family, but it seems that the drought and our missing princess were too much for him." "It really is you, isn't it, Toto?" Vivi whispered. You've lost so much weight." Realization seemed to dawn on the old man. "Princess," Toto declared happily. "Oh, thank heaven that you're alive. Now that you're back, you can stop the stupid rebellion." "I hope I can, Toto," Vivi responded in a melancholic voice. "It's wonderful to see you again, but the city seems empty. Wasn't the rebel army stationed here? Where's Kaza?" "I'm afraid you missed them," Toto lamented. "The well dried up a few months ago, so the rebels moved on. I'm the only one left." Where are they stationed now?" Vivi asked in a quiet voice, praying that the answer she would receive was a town close by. "They're in Katria," Toto answered. "That's close to here, right?" Chopper questioned. "No, it's not," Vivi replied, tears welling in her eyes. "Katria is near Nanohana in the direction we just came from." "You're kidding me!" Luffy yelled angrily as Jin pulled out his danfa and released his anger on a nearby building. "You mean we came all this way for nothing?" Zoro added. Eyelash grumbled something. "That's right," Chopper translated. "I was carrying supplies for them when I met the reindeer." The men went to town beating on the camel, yelling at him about not mentioning anything. He huffed when they were done. "Whatever," Chopper translated again, the comment starting another round of beating for the perverted animal. Toto invited them to stay the night since they shouldn't travel through the desert when the sun is down. Most of the crew ended up in a giant pillow fight at night that expended the last of their energy and put them to sleep quickly. Luffy, however, decided to go outside to talk to Toto. Koby, seeing him leave, decided to follow him, but caught a pillow with the back of his head and fell out the door. He threw it back in with a cry of jerks, and hit Usopp in the face. Koby quickly shut the door. Several thumps of other pillows rattled the wood on its hinges as he walked down a path of new footprints in the sand. "What are you doing down here?" he heard Toto say. "Your friends are having fun in the inn. You should join them." "Nah," Luffy waved off. "Don't feel like it." "Are you still down here digging, old guy?" "Yes, I am. This old spring isn't dead yet. I can feel it. I just have to find that water." The youngest of the three reached the edge of the hole. "Then I'll help," Luffy nodded. He shifted over to another point and started scooping out sand with his bare hands, the grains piling into the hole Toto had been making. "Stop it," the man ordered. "You're undoing all of my work." "But I'm helping," Luffy argued. "Captain Luffy," Koby called, sliding down the side. "Koby? What are you doing here?" "I wanted to help." "All right," Luffy shrugged. The three dug for most of the night, Luffy falling asleep sometime around 11:15 and Koby following him into the realm of dreams around 11:25. Toto picked up their sleeping forms and carried them to the inn where the rest of their group was resting soundly. Returning to the dried spring alone, Toto was shocked by the depth of the hole the captain and the Rosette had made just that night. He climbed down the ladder he'd needed to get to retrieve them and was speechless. The sand under his feet was damp. The crew left Yoga that morning. As they were preparing to leave, Toto stopped them to give them a barrel full of water and told them that he had been able to pull it from the bottom of the hole Luffy and Koby had made the night before. He also gave the two a small barrel of water with a straw and a necklace each. They thanked him profusely and went on their way. The group was halted several minutes later. "I quit," Luffy announced, dropping into the shade of a dead tree. "Luffy?" Nami asked. "What's wrong?" "Please, Captain Luffy. We don't have time for this," Koby insisted. Grace, on the other hand, slid off of eyelash and sat next to Luffy in the scarce shade with a rice cracker in her hand. "Not you too, Grace. I need a nap." Grace yawned. "A nap?" Usopp asked, incredulously. "You weren't even walking." "Shut your face." Sanji rebuffed him, kicking him away. "If a lady wants to nap, you let her nap." "Koby's right, we don't have time for this," Vivi said. "Get up. If we wait any longer, people could die. We could stop the rebellion, that won't stop Crocodile." "People are going to die anyway," Luffy told her bluntly. "I can't accept that," the princess growled. "This is my country and it is my duty to protect it. I have to do what's right for Alabasta. Does that involve you dying?" "If need be, yes." Luffy rose suddenly and punched her, shocking their audience. Surprisingly, Sanji did nothing to help her as she fell. "You can't do that, Vivi," Luffy told her seriously. "People die every day and there's nothing we can do. There will be casualties. You're important to this country and the people love you. They'd happily die to protect you. Why do you think your life is the only one that can be put on the line?" Vivi pulled herself up and retaliated, slugging the pirate hard enough to throw him to the ground. She mounted him, repeatedly punching and slapping and beating him, but she knew, deep down, that he was right. "What do you want me to do, huh?" she asked hysterically, continuing to wail on the pirate. "Is it wrong to want everybody to survive? Do you want me to let those people just die? Do you want me to do nothing?" Luffy grabbed her arms at the wrists. "Why don't you let us put our lives on the line, too?" Luffy pulled himself from under her and stood. I. Vivi had no words. Tears pooled at her eyes, as the pirates moved to stand behind their captain, standing with him. For her country. And it was too much. Her emotions welled up as the tears spilled over, running down her face and falling to the sand. "Now the way I look at it," Luffy's voice cut through her crying, "Crocodile is the leader of the ones doing this, so all I have to do is kick his ass? So, where is Crocodile?" Vivi sniffled. "Rain base," she got out. "His base is in Rain base. A day's journey to the north. Then let's go." 5 people, 2 women and 3 men, sat at a table with 9 chairs, the one at the head of the table turned away. The walls of the room around them were glass, showing the aquarium on the other side inhabited by bananadils, giant crocodiles the color of bananas and with a banana-shaped protrusion on their heads and teeth the size of a full-grown human when fully grown like these were. "Well?" a large woman asked quickly, slamming her hand in the table before her. "When are we going to get started?" When started? When? This woman had fuzzy red hair that puffed out in a thin afro-like style and sunglasses that hid her eyes. She was dressed in a plain white, button-up and black dress pants. A green tie with red dots in the shape of a Christmas tree hung from her neck. "Ha! Ha! Ha!" the woman's partner laughed slowly. He was also large, but much taller than his short-statured partner. He had short blonde hair parted down the middle and a dopey look on his face. He wore a green dress shirt with matching pants and a regular darker green tie. A medal baseball bat was mounted on his back. Ha! 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 Please calm yourself, Miss Merry Christmas, the other woman said as her black eyes looked at the aforementioned Miss Merry Christmas. She had slightly longer blue hair in the same style as the other woman, but it hung lower behind her head. She also had a voluptuous figure accented by her one-piece outfit that covered her modesty, but only had a spiderweb design over her thin midriff. Her lower body was dressed in skinny jeans the same color as the rest of her outfit and 2-inch boots. Miss Merry Christmas opened her mouth to retort, but a man beat her to it. Now, Mr. Two muttered in all his Akama glory. We mustn't fight between ourselves when we are so close. Everybody shut up, the final man at the table growled. You're all annoying. This man had dark skin and white hair that looked gray from the combination of his skin tone and buzz cut. He was a tall man wearing a black sleeveless shirt and off-white pants with brown shoes. His crossed arms rippled every time they moved from the bulging muscles just under the skin. You be quiet, you big bully. Mr. Two rebuffed. I don't care if you are a number above me, I'll still kill you. Ha, not likely. Ha. Ha. Ha, Mr. Four continued to laugh. You all sure are a lively bunch. The men craned their necks to see the steps behind them while the women only looked up. On the stairs was another woman, Miss All Sunday. You have all been called here because the plan is moving into its final stage. Thus, it is time for you to meet the man you all know, yet do not. You mean it's time to meet the boss? Miss Doublefinger asked. Yes, that's right, a deep, gruff voice answered. The chair at the head of the table spun around to reveal the warlord, Crocodile. Everyone in the room, with the exception of said man and Miss All Sunday, gasped. He was a man of average height with slicked-back black hair that fell to his neck and a prominent scar that ran from one side of his face to the other over his nose. He was dressed in nice, cotton clothes of yellow and brown shades and a striped, fur-lined coat of dark black cotton hung from his shoulders like a cape. From his mouth hung a lit cigar, the smoke slowly wafting through the air. Finally, his left arm ended at the wrist, the hand replaced by a golden hook. Yes, I am Mr. Zero, but that is unimportant at the present moment. As Miss All Sunday said, the plan is moving into its final stage. These, he pulled out slips of paper that Miss All Sunday passed around, are your final orders as members of Baroque Works. If all goes to plan, Alabasta will fall by the end of the week. And without the Straw Hats or that pesky princess running around, nothing can go wrong. Is this a bad time, then? Mr. 3 interrupted, emerging from that shadows. He was covered in bandages and his hair was drooping. Ah! Mr. 2 called, hopping up and falling into a fighting stance. Finally, you show yourself, Mr. 3. I can now complete my last mission and eliminate you. Hold it, Mr. 2, Crocodile ordered, standing. I don't know how you found this place, Mr. 3, but the Straw Hats are not dead, Mr. 3 said. Cutting the warlord off. What? Crocodile growled. You told me over the Den Mushy that you'd killed them all on Little Garden along with Princess Vivi. What Den? I haven't used one since before getting to Little Garden. I came to report that both Miss Golden Week and Miss Valentine have betrayed us for the pirates and that Mr. 5 fell sick and died on our way back. Crocodile rushed forward and grabbed the agent by the throat, his anger palpable. As the other agents watched, Mr. 3 slowly shriveled as if the water was being sucked from his body. Please, he begged, his voice turning hoarse from dehydration. Have mercy. Let me make it right. You've done enough, Crocodile ground out. He threw the man away, said man calling for water. You want water? I'll give you all the water you can drink. He pressed a button, opening a trapdoor beneath the wax man and dropping him into a large area under the other room. A banana came up and ate the man before he could scream. These are the pirates? Mr. 2 asked as the sketches the Unluckies had drawn in Whiskey Peak were set before him. I've met these people before. They were a fun bunch. I did not see Ms. Golden Week or Miss Valentine when I was on their ship, however. Also, there was some sort of animal pet thing there, too, and I didn't touch everybody. Make pictures of the ones you can, Mr. Zero ordered. They have a kill on-site order that I want you all to pass on to your men. We can't let them ruin our plan now. Dismissed. Chapter 13. As Vivi had said, the trip to Rain Base took a full day of travel. The dessert had been extra hot that day, quickly building up thirst within the group. Only Vivi seemed unaffected, but the pirates chalked it up to just being from Alabasta. Poor Chopper was, once again, having to be carried by Zoro, who denied any semblance of being thirsty. Sanji, not wanting to be outdone by the swordsman in any way, also denied water. The others didn't really care, their feud meant more water for them. Finally, the little speck on the horizon grew to be rain-based through the desert haze. "Hey, Vivi," Usopp asked, using his goggles to peer ahead. "That's where we're going, right?" "Yeah," the princess answered. "That's Rain Base, the only city outside of the drought." "I guess it's not really a surprise since that's Crocodile's base. Then we should just finish off our water before we go in, huh?" Grace suggested. "No point carrying it around when we don't need to. That's unnecessary work." "I agree with Grace," Jin nodded. "Plus we'll be well hydrated if we end up fighting anyone." "All right, everyone," Nami clapped her hands. "Let's finish off this. Where's Luffy? And where's Usopp? Crocodile, I'm gonna kick your sandy ass." "Oh," Nami sighed as the two ran off. They ran off. "Don't worry, Nami," Koby placated. "We have the baby Den now. We can call them if we need to." "I'm worried that they won't call when they need to," she responded. "Anyway, everyone get your cups ready. We've got about 3 gallons in here." With Luffy and Usopp, they walked into a small restaurant, sat at the counter next to a man and a woman, and ordered food which was placed before them quickly. They were so absorbed in their eating that they completely missed the discussion going on not 3 feet away. "What makes you so sure that the Straw Hats are going to be here in Rain Base?" Sergeant Major Tashigi asked, a glass of water in her hand. The man next to her took a draw from the cigars in his mouth and exhaled before answering. "I've just got a hunch," he said. "Straw Hat is after Crocodile, as far as I can tell, and there have been reports that the warlord is stationed here in Rain Base. If Straw Hat is after Crocodile like the reports speculated, then he'll be here eventually." He turned to his right and the 2 messy eaters there. "Would you two slow down and use some manners?" Luffy and Usopp stared at Smoker and Tashigi. The Marines stared back at the pirates. Nobody moved. "Run!" Luffy ordered through a mouthful of food, throwing his empty plate at the Marines. It passed through Smoker's head, forcing Tashigi to duck. He and Usopp were out the door faster than the captain could react. "Tashigi, get the other Marines," Smoker ordered. He gave chase. The crew, with the exception of Chopper, Luffy, and Usopp, were lounging by a fountain near the middle of the town. Chopper had dismissed himself several minutes prior to go to the little boy's room as he'd called it. Vivi shifted uncomfortably from being so close to the place where Crocodile had pulled the strings. She had her hood pulled up in case there were any million or billions around to recognize her. As one, all of their baby den began to ring. Booed up, booed up, booed up. Booed up, booed up, booed up. It was a group call, as every call for the baby den Usopp had bought would be. They were synced to each other, so all of them would ring until someone picked up. After that, any of the others could join by awakening their own den. Nami was the one to answer. "Hello? Nami?" Usopp's frantic voice called over the tiny snail. He sounded winded. "Thank God. The Marines are here and chasing me and Luffy, everyone." Luffy's voice interrupted. "Head to Crocodile's base. We'll meet up there." "Understood," Nami answered. She shut the shell over the small snail, severing the call. "You all heard him. Let's too late," Zoro grunted. From a side street into the plaza came Luffy, Usopp, and the Marines chasing them. The government people, including Smoker and Tashigi, saw the pirates and ordered the men to capture every one of them. "It's the rest of the pirates," Tashigi gasped. "Don't let them get away," Smoker shouted to the men behind him. Tashigi started to pull ahead. "Ruranoa! This way!" Vivi yelled over the sounds of the Marines as Luffy and Usopp caught the group. "Do you see the top of that gold pyramid over there? That's Crocodile's base, Rain Dinners." "Got it," Luffy replied, his eyes locked on the decorative golden banana on top of their goal. "We'll all meet up there." "Split up!" Nami shouted, the crew fracturing into smaller subgroups that each ran down a separate alley with a crowd of Marines after them. Vivi, Zoro, and Koby went one way, Tashigi after them, till yelling at Zoro to give up his swords. Amy, Grace, and Jin went another with their own horde, behind them. Usopp ran off with Nami and Sanji in tow. And finally, Luffy jumped a building, Smoker hot on his heels with a cry of white vine. Vivi, Koby, and Zoro, much to Zoro's dismay, his student was dragging him by the sleeve as they followed Vivi through the town. The street they were running on opened up to an intersection with 3 other streets, a plethora of armed men already waiting for them. "There they are," one of the nameless men called. "Get them." Teacher and student both drew 2 swords and got to work disarming the attacking mercenaries. "Is that the best you've got, Baroque Works?" Koby taunted, punching a million with the pommel of his right sword. The man crumbled. "I've fought animals with more skill than that. You've really gotten the hang of this, haven't you, Koby?" Zoro complimented, throwing away a dozen opponents with the blunt of Yubashiri. "Ruranoa!" Tashigi yelled, the agents partying for her and her entourage. "You've corrupted a child into the ways of piracy and now you're teaching him to cut down innocent civilians. This will not stand. You don't understand." Koby tried to reason. "We're trying to save this country. Pirates don't do that. The Marines bat. They raid and kill for fun. This is where you fall, Ruranoa." The woman brought out her weapon, a brand new sword, and pointed it at Zoro. "Unhand the princess. You're under arrest." "We don't have time for this," Vivi announced as she pulled her hood off, revealing herself. "Princess?" Tashigi gasped. "What are you doing?" Vivi ignored the Marine. "Let's go, guys." "I couldn't agree more," Zoro muttered. The trio took off with Vivi in the lead, outrunning the confused Marines and the agents. Of course Zoro, with his sense of direction, got separated from the other 2 within 20 steps and ended up in front of the casino, kicking over 3 agents with guns. Jin, Amy, and Grace, both sadists, and the young girl were running as fast as they could, the male in front, with his tonfa out, beating away Baroque Works agents that got in their path. The Marines following them were getting closer as the trio exited an alley. "Grace," Amy said. "Do the thing." "What thing?" Jin asked, knocking the last agents around them unconscious with a tonfa to the face. Grace moved to the entrance of the alley and started painting her design on the ground. She finished within seconds and backed away from the design quickly. The Marines flew out of alley and stopped dead in their tracks. For you see, Grace had used her black paint. This paint was special, made from a mixture of rebellion-inducing compounds and fast-acting acids that target inorganic matter. Grace's black paint could eat through even the toughest shoes before reaching the feet of her victims and releasing chemicals into the bloodstream that would force anyone to refuse any order and do the opposite as long as they continue to stand on the symbol. Group color trap, betrayal black. "All right, boys," Amy cackled. "Don't you dare fire on these innocent bystanders that were chasing us. We don't take orders from you, lady," the lead Marine yelled. He hoisted his gun and shot one of the unconscious agents. His men followed suit, shooting the downed Baroque Works men. "You don't think Don Luffy will be mad that we did this, right?" Jin questioned over the gunfire. "We didn't kill anyone," Amy waved off. "Plus what Luffy doesn't know won't kill him." I guess so. Come on, Grace insisted, wanting to leave the area as soon as possible. We need to get to the others. Yes. Jin agreed. Let's go. They made their exit, the sound of the Marines firing continuing to echo behind them. Sanji, Usopp, and Nami crap. Usopp yelped. They got ahead of us. He was staring at the pack of Marines advancing from the front while his two companions watched another set approach from behind. Go, Sanji ordered, pushing Nami and Usopp into an alleyway perpendicular to the road and standing guard at the entrance. But, Sanji Nami tried to protest. No buts. I'll be fine. Just go. Right, the two nodded. They took off toward Ray and Dinners as the Marines drew closer. Sorry about this, the chef apologized, lighting a cigarette. He waited until the first Marine with a sword was swinging to retaliate. Sanji shot forward with his right leg extended, throwing that man into the three behind him. He shifted his weight to his arms, altering his momentum into an upside-down roundhouse kick that took out most of the rest of the first row. He righted himself as the rest of the government lackeys backed up a few steps. Bring it on, appetizers. Nami and Usopp were the first two to reach Ray and Dinners, three guards standing at the front steps. The building was a pyramid. Taller than any other building in Rain Base, it had a golden bananadil resting on top and was situated directly over a lake, only one bridge providing entry and exit. Halt. One of the guards ordered, pointing his gun at them. Recognizing the duo as members of the Straw Hat Pirates, his fellow guards aimed their weapons at the navigator and sniper. They were about to kill the two when a green-haired swordsman mowed them over from the side, rendering them unconscious. Zoro? Usopp questioned. Where are Koby and Vivi? Weren't they with you? What? The swordsman replied, looking around. Ah crap. They must have gotten lost. You moron. Nami shouted. Get in the building. They heard Luffy yell. He ran by, the others hurrying to catch up. Smoker followed them, his gaseous body making him lighter and faster than any normal person, but if there was one thing outside of fighting that the Straw Hats were good at, it was running. They easily kept ahead of the irate Marine and entered the casino on the lake. Keep running. Nami yelled as they entered the building. They never slowed down, lest Smoker catch them and send them to the gallows. The noises of gambling rung through the air. Slot machines and the cries of people around poker tables, as they either won big or lost it all. The pirates bowled over patrons and employees alike in their search for the warlord until a path to the VIP lounge was opened for them. The quartet and their pursuer sped through the door and down a long, white hallway. At the end, a sign read VIPs left, pirates right. Which way, Luffy? Zoro asked. Go left. Nami yelled. Go left. No, we're going right, Luffy said. The sign says pirates go right. We're pirates. Well, he does have a point, Usopp agreed. They made the turn, only to find a dead end. Finally, Smoker commented, I've got you now, Straw Hat. And that's when the trapdoor beneath them opened up. How did we fall for this? Zoro questioned as Nami screamed and grabbed Luffy. Oh no. Usopp cried. My, swimming while falling because you think it will help syndrome is acting up. Damn you, Straw Hat. Smoker yelled. Luffy shouted. Crocodile. Chapter 14. Vivi and Koby were surrounded by thugs, several unconscious on the ground around them. Koby was in his hybrid mode while Vivi had her spinning pinky ring weapons out. I'll admit, Princess, the lead agent, a large man with short blonde hair and a broadsword, chuckled, you've got some moves, and that's one freaky-ass pet, but we've got you outmatched. I am not a pet, Koby growled, turning on the man. Of course not, the man laughed. You're a but whatever insult the man was about to use died with him, a bullet coming out of nowhere and slamming into his chest. More bullets rained down on the agents who scattered in an attempt to save themselves. A bird, one of the largest Koby had ever seen, swooped low, machine guns firing repeatedly from under its wings. Pell! Vivi shouted excitedly as Koby shrunk into his human mode to be a smaller target. The bird, a falcon if Koby was correct, made another low pass and plucked the princess and the pirate up and into the air. Koby screamed like he used to when he was a coward, no matter what he would claim afterward. They landed on the roof of a tall, nearby building. The two turned quickly to see the large bird, which had perched on the lip of the roof, change into a pale man with black face paint. He was dressed in white desert robes with black, star-like markings and a matching headband. A sword with a gold-plated handle rested at his side. Koby was on guard, hands on the hilts of his own swords, but Vivi surged forward to hug the man. "It's wonderful to see you, Princess Vivi," the man said, patting her back. "We'd received word that you had returned, so your father sent me on recognizance to scout the area. I'm glad he did." "You received word?" the woman questioned, letting go. "That means that Karyu made it safely." "Yes, Karyu is alive and well in Alubarna, and who might this be, Princess?" "Oh, I forgot to introduce you, didn't I? Pell, this is Koby, a member of the Straw Hat Pirates who have been helping me. Koby, this is Pell, one of my father's advisors." "It's nice to meet you," Koby said, holding out his hand. "You as well," Pell replied, taking his hand. "Now, if you'll excuse me, I have some rodents to deal with." The man hopped up onto the lip and looked down on the able-bodied agents. The bird fruit, model falcon, one of the 19 known devil fruits that give the gift of flight. "This is what you face, for I am Pell the falcon." He shifted back into his bird form and dove off the side while the grunts panicked. The Alabastian made short work of the ruffians before returning to Vivi's side. My, a feminine voice chuckled from behind the two on the building as the guardian landed. Koby reacted by going for his swords, but they were not there. "Looking for these?" the woman asked, lifting his scabbards and their contents. "Miss All Sunday," Vivi hissed, her eyes narrowing. "I take it that this woman is one of our enemies?" Bell questioned. "In that case." He transformed and flew toward the female agent, ready to finish the woman's life, but it was not to be. "Trs Fleur," Miss All Sunday said, crossing her arms over her chest. 3 limbs sprouted from the bird man. 2 of them locked his wings in place and the last one kept his sword from moving. With no control, the man spiraled into the other side of the lining. "What did you do?" Vivi demanded angrily. Koby watched the black-haired woman warily, focused on all small movements and ready to change at a moment's notice. "That," Miss All Sunday answered, "was the power of the flower fruit, a devil fruit that lets me bloom body parts from any surface like flowers." She extended her right hand to the side, 2 more arms blooming into existence from the inside of her elbow. All 3 hands waved. "I thought you looked familiar," Koby growled as Pell tried to stand. "You're Nico Robin. The woman who had a 79 million BR bounty at the age of 7. Well, you're a smart one, aren't you?" she asked with a smile that lacked even a shred of emotion. The extra arms dispersed into flower petals that blew away in the wind. "What gave me away? I had my suspicions when we meet on the Mary, since you still resemble your wanted poster, but I'd heard rumors, when I was younger, about a woman who could have over 100 arms. That woman was you. How interesting. Well, we must be off. I've been ordered to bring the princess and any straw hats with her to Mr. Zero." "That means you," she turned to Pell, who had risen and was about to cut her in half, "are unwelcome. Cease Fleur." Clutch. The 6 arms that had sprouted around and on Pell bent him backward. There was a sickening crack and Pell fell, unmoving. "No!" Vivi cried. "Pell. Not you, too." She moved to attack, but Koby held her back, grabbing her waist. "What are you doing, Koby?" "There's nothing we can do at the moment," the Rosette reasoned with a scowl. "I don't know if we can beat her, and knowing Luffy, he's somewhere near Crocodile already. We need to meet back up with them." Vivi's struggling slowed to a stop. Fine, she ground out with a glare. We'll go with you. Wonderful, Nico Robin smiled mirthlessly, clapping her hands once. Willing participants are so much better than captive audiences. Damn you, Sierra Crocodile. Luffy trailed off, his hold on the bars of the cage. He, and his friends, were weakening him. They'd been there for nearly 10 minutes and their baby, dens wouldn't work. They could pick up each other's snails, but everyone that was free were either outside their cut-off range or the walls were made of something that blocked them. At that moment, Luffy had his hand on the bars, Nami standing behind her weakened boyfriend with her hands on her hips. Smoker was sitting on a stone bench in the back corner of the cage, half his face hidden in the shadows. Zoro was to the far left of the cage by the bench, trying to sleep, while Usopp was leaning on the opposite side as far away from Smoker as he could get in the limited space. Luffy! Nami yelled, hitting him over the head with a fist. You know the bars weaken you. Stop touching them. But I don't understand why, Luffy moaned before Nami lifted his hand from the cage. She did not let go of it. This cage, Marine Captain Smoker spoke up from his seat, 2 cigars half gone in his clenched jaw, is made of a rock called sea prism stone. It is only found on the ocean floor and, for reasons unknown, gives off a feeling like the sea. To devil fruit users like Straw Hat and me, just touching it is like being submerged in the ocean. The end of my jut is made of sea prism stone. Luffy tapped his fist, an understanding look on his face. So it's a mystery rock. That's not what he said at all, Usopp huffed as Zoro's snores came to an end. Yes, Luffy, Nami sighed, taking his hand again while her other hand bopped him on the nose. It's a mystery rock. One that you should avoid touching. Okay. Got it. Now this is interesting, Smoker muttered, narrowing his eyes at the male and female. I never would have guessed that Straw Hat Luffy would have a lover. Nami turned red while Luffy just cocked his head to the side in confusion. It begs the question, is Straw Hat really in charge of his merry band of misfits? What's a lover? Luffy asked while, at the same time, Nami cried, we're not like that. Was that a pun about our ship? Usopp asked, sorry to disappoint, White Hair, Zoro yawned, stretching from his nap, but I don't think Luffy knows about the birds and the bees. I know about birds and bees, Luffy argued. Really? Usopp questioned incredulously. Yeah. There were birds and bees back on Goa Island, but none of them were big enough to eat. Zoro and Usopp turned toward Nami. She glared back. Don't look at me, she told them. He needs to hear it from a guy. Hear what? Luffy asked. They ignored him. The 2 other male pirates locked eyes from across the cage, lifted their fists, and played a game of rock, paper, scissors. Usopp sighed, glaring at his crushed scissors, before dragging Luffy to one side of the cage and began to give the 1 month younger teen the talk. If one watched, they would probably laugh, as the pirate captain's face slowly grew purple. You all, Smoker muttered through his cigars several minutes later, are the weirdest bunch of pirates I've ever met. Is that a compliment or an insult? Nami questioned. She received no answer since Zoro had already gone back to sleep and Usopp and Luffy were otherwise occupied. The cage was all but silent long enough for a thoroughly embarrassed Luffy to return to the front of the cage. Well, you all sure are lively, I'll give you that. Crocodile spoke from the table for the first time since they had fallen into his trap, a glass of red wine in his hand. The table was spread with a feast for 2 people. And Captain Smoker, what a nice surprise. Unlike your superiors, you never thought I was on your side. You were right, of course, but I'll be sure that the old coots know that you died a brave death while fighting the vicious Straw Hat Luffy. On the bright side, it's almost time. I just received word that we have a special guest arriving in a few moments. Right on cue, the double doors at the top of the stairs opened, and walking Vivi, Koby, and Miss All Sunday, who still had Koby's swords in her grip. Ah. Vivi Nefertari, Princess of Alabasta. Or should I call you Miss Wednesday? Welcome. Please, have a seat. Vivi. The pirates called in their various emotions, worry being the most prominent. Damn you! Vivi yelled, bringing out her peacock slashers and dashing toward the warlord. He didn't move a muscle as her weapon shot forward, blowing his head off in a spray of sand. The man's body broke apart, building itself back up behind the royal woman until Crocodile was whole again and with a grip on Vivi. Now, he taunted as she struggled, unable to break his hold around either her waist or neck. A woman of your stature shouldn't use such coarse language. As a citizen of this country, you should be aware that I possess the power of the sand fruit. Please. He stopped as Koby slammed into him in his Dino mode, blasting the Sandman apart and scooping up Vivi. Grains of sand spiraled out to wrap around the young teen dinosaur and the princess, eventually overpowering them. That was unexpected, Mr. Zero ground out as he reformed, the ropes of sand holding Koby, flinging him into the bars of the cage where he came to a stop under a pile of sand. Koby was forced to change back upon contact with the sea prism stone, his strength failing him. With, "You hear, I'll have to cut my well-practiced speech short," Crocodile growled. "Project Utopia has begun, princess. This key," he pulled out a plain, golden key, "is the key to the cage your friends are trapped in. As soon as I leave, this room will be flooded and the Bananadils released. You have two options: try to run to Alubarna to stop the rebellion and leave your friends to die, or try to save them here and let the rebels boot up, boot up, boot up. 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 California Lick, what the hell do you want?" The man yelled into the transponder snail that had ruined his moment. "Is this thing on?" a familiar voice asked from the den. "Yes, it is," the Sandman answered in the same dark voice. "That voice is familiar. Hello. You've reached the Grep Cafe. Is this about a reservation? You're the one that called from Little Garden. Who the hell are you?" "You can call me Mr. Prince." "Mr. Prince?" Usopp shouted. "We're alright. That would be my friends," Mr. Prince admitted. "And if you must know ERK. Sanji." Luffy shouted worriedly. There was static for several seconds before a new voice spoke from the snail. "Apologies, Mr. Zero, sir. We finally got that ugly bastard. He snuck up on us and stole one of our special den. Sorry to interrupt." The line went dead, the transponder snail going to sleep. Crocodile shook his head for several moments before speaking. He turned back to the princess. "As I was saying, you can try to save your country and abandon your friends, or try to save them here and let the rebels overrun the capital." Crocodile turned and tossed the key over his shoulder. Vivi dove for it, but a trapdoor, the same one that had swallowed up Mr. 3 several days previously, opened, dropping the key into the mouth of a waiting Bananadil. "No!" the princess cried as the warlord laughed. "Ha ha ha! Goodbye, Miss Wednesday." Crocodile chuckled as he left the room, Nico Robin, carelessly tossing Koby's swords to one side and following him. And then the glass cracked. Chapter 15. As I was saying, you can try to save your country and abandon your friends, or try to save them here and let the rebels overrun the capital. Crocodile turned and tossed the key over his shoulder. Vivi dove for it, but a trapdoor, the same one that had swallowed up Mr. 3 several days previously, opened, dropping the key into the mouth of a waiting Bananadil. "No!" the princess cried as the warlord laughed. "Ha ha ha! Goodbye, Miss Wednesday." Crocodile chuckled as he left the room, Nico Robin carelessly tossing Koby's swords to one side and following him. And then the glass cracked. Vivi sat there staring into the trapdoor, the giant Bananadil that had eaten the key staring back, for several long seconds. Sounds of glass beginning to break echoed through the underwater room, but Vivi heard nothing but the blood pounding through her ears. Luckily, she snapped out of it quickly thanks to the cries of her friends in the cage, Luffy's being the most dominant. "Vivi! Let me out so I can kick Crocodile's sandy ass." "Come on," Usopp urged, shaking Koby through the bars. "Wake up, Koby. Wake up, you lazy ass," Nami yelled, kicking a sleeping Zoro in the head. "Is it morning yet? Watch out, Vivi," Luffy yelled. "The bananas are coming." Through one of the holes in the floor crawled a banana large enough to eat the cage containing much of the Straw Hat crew in a single bite. The princess pulled out her weapons, but she knew they would be ineffective against something of the creature's size. It advanced on her, ready to snap her up as a treat. But it was halted, held back by a Triceratops. "Go, Vivi," Koby ordered, his feet cracking the floor under him from the weight of his struggle with the larger reptile, possible herb. "Get the others. I'll hold this overgrown lizard off. And throw my swords to me, would you?" The larger, semi-aquatic lizard stepped forward, causing Koby's feet to dig furrows into the concrete. Vivi sprinted up the stairs and into the casino, stopping only long enough to toss the pair of swords at the top back down. "All right, fatty," she heard Koby taunt as she moved out of earshot. "Let's dance." The princess kept running, trying to ignore the yells and growls coming from the room behind her. She slowed down just before reaching the gambling area and threw up her hood so as to not attract unwanted attention. She'd barely stepped into the room when there was a tremor that shot through the building. The bridge collapsed. A man cried as everyone regained their balance. Vivi kept quiet, walking through the now louder casino, looking for a way out like the screaming patrons. She passed between three silent figures, two of whom were calmly playing slots. "You know, beautiful," one of them muttered, "I didn't destroy the bridge to keep us in. I did it to keep them out." "Kai-ha-ha," the other gambler chuckled lowly. "I never knew Mr. Zero owned a casino. You'd think he'd let us number agents have a discount or something." "Sanji," Vivi gasped. "Amy. Grace." The three spun around on their stools, smirks on two of the three faces. "Where's Tony? And Jin?" "Jin helped me pull off the Den call," Sanji answered. "He and Chopper are running around town playing decoy. We'll meet up with them later." "Where are the others?" "Come on," Vivi urged. "We have to get down there. Koby's fighting a bananadil." "Oh what?" Sanji asked as she took off back the way she'd come from. The three followed, Grace not even acting lazy. They ran down the path Vivi had taken before coming out at the top of a set of now destroyed stairs. Koby was in his hybrid mode, holding back a bananadil with his crossed swords. He was holding on well, but he was slowly weakening from the rising water level. The croc swung its head like an oversized bat, knocking Koby into the bars of the cage. For the second time, he slumped. Not unconscious, but weakened. "Koby," Grace fretted. "Big sister, do something." Amy huffed, but knew there was no time for arguing. Other bananadils could be seen trying to force their way into the flooding room, so she opened her umbrella and lightened herself, floating up and over the large lizard. At the same time, the chef had jumped down into the water and attacked. 10,000 kilogram press. Bad manners kick course. The combination of both attacks, one coming from above and the other from below, compressed the insides of the gator/croc/herb/thing. It gagged, falling into sweet oblivion as the things that it had eaten made a reappearance, such things including a key and a large ball of an off-white color. "Nami Swan," Sanji gushed, turning into a noodle. "Are you proud of me? Are you willing to leave our stupid captain for me, yet?" "Back off, Sanji," Luffy ordered. "Just hurry up and get us out of this cage." "Whatever, shitty captain." He turned to the unknown object. "What is this?" Sanji wondered aloud, tapping the ball with his foot. Grace, however, stared at it with some form of abject fear. The sphere cracked like an egg, opening to reveal a dehydrated Mr. 3, free. The wax man cried before kneeling down to drink his fill of water. Now hydrated, if a little loopy from the water of questionable purity, Mr. 3 starting ranting at the air, cursing Crocodile and explaining that he'd used the last of his strength to summon a protective ball of wax as soon as that bananadil had eaten him. After ranting for a good half-minute, He had finally calmed down, enough to actually take in his surroundings. What the? Miss Golden Week? Ms. Valentine? Straw Hats? You must be Mr. 3, then, Sanji said, sauntering over to the male agent as Vivi and Grace scooped up the key. They moved to the cage, avoiding Mr. 3's gaze. Well, Mr. 3 didn't know what to make of this new, intimidating figure. It only got worse for him when Amy went to stand next to her fellow blonde, a sadistic smirk on his face. We meet again, Mr. 3. Kaihaha. The key isn't working, Grace called from beside the cage. A fake, Vivi cried. Hey, Mr. 3, Amy smirked. You're made of wax. Why don't you make us a key? What's in it for me? Mr. 3 stuttered, trying to sound brave. The sadistic blonde sauntered into him to whisper in his ear. If you don't, I will literally crush you piece by piece, starting with your waxy balls. The man's face paled, becoming wider than his wax. He bolted over to the cage and stuffed his finger into the keyhole, the appendage turning to wax and taking the necessary shape. There was a click and the door swung open. Yeah. Luffy cheered as he and the other prisoners exited the cage. Now it's time to go kick Crocodile's ass? Am I done here? Mr. 3 asked nervously as Luffy went to work, beating up the other bananadills that had entered with the help of Zoro. Nope, Sanji answered with a smirk, the last bananadill flying over his head to slam into the broken stairs. He handed a handwritten note, signed Mr. Prince, to the wax man before kicking him into a wall, knocking him unconscious. Unfortunately, they'd wasted too much time. The windows cracked and caved, spewing water into the crumbling room. Zoro! Luffy yelled just before the water engulfed him and everyone else. Save Smokey! Sanji gasped as he broke the surface of the water, Amy and Luffy under his arms. He tossed his captain onto the sidewalk, heedless of the strange looks he was getting, before gingerly lying Amy down. Nami and Vivi came next. Usopp half-drowned between them. Not that he was a devil fruit user, he was just a wimp. After them was Zoro with Smoker draped over him. Why the hell did you save him? Sanji growled, pointing at the Marine. He's our enemy. Not now, Zoro growled back as the devil fruit users coughed water. We're down too. Grace. Amy gasped, bolting up into a sitting position. Grace. Where are you? I'll get her, Sanji insisted, diving back into the lake. He swam down, a dark shape growing into his vision. Grace, who'd lost her hat, was struggling to get to the surface, Koby lying limp over her shoulder. Sanji scooped them both up and kicked upward with his stronger legs until all three reached the air. Amy surged forward, pulling her soaked sister into a hug as she coughed. Koby's welcoming into consciousness was less pleasant. Zoro pulled him up and punched him in the gut, forcing the water out of his lungs. While crude, it was effective. All right. Luffy shouted, jumping up as his energy returned. Now it's time to kick Crocodile's ass. Ruranoa. Smoker growled, jabbing his jut at the swordsman who caught it on the blade of Wado-Akamenji. Why did you save me? Don't look too far into it, Zoro replied, pushing the weapon away and sheathing his sword. I was just following my captain's orders. That's all. Come on, everyone, Vivi insisted. We have to get to Alubarna. It's this way, due east. She took off at a run, the others following, Sanji proclaiming that he'd do anything for her or her beauty. Koby shifted into his Dino mode to carry Grace, the slowest member, and Amy had Sanji pull her near weightless form by her umbrella. Nami had started following, but stopped when she noticed that Luffy was not with them. Luffy? She questioned, looking back at the teen who had yet to move except to make eye contact with the Marine. Come on. You know, the rubber man began, you're not such a bad guy, Smokey. I like you. Shishishi. The smoke man did not reply for several seconds. Go, he ordered, putting his jut away. This is the one time I'll let you off. Next time, though, I will catch you. See ya. Luffy laughed as he and Nami took off. The reunion with Chopper and Jin brought a surprise in the form of a giant, slightly perverted moving crab. The crab, which was as big as a building and a childhood friend of Eyelash, had agreed to carry them to Alubarna as a favor for the camel they were traveling with. They boarded the crustacean that Nami named Scissors and took off to the east. Unfortunately, not all of them would make the trip that way. Crocodile's golden hook came out of nowhere, pulling Vivi off the crab and back towards Rain Base. Luffy reacted immediately, reaching out and switching places with her. "Luffy, Captain Luffy, Don Luffy!" The crew cried out as the rubber teen was pulled away. "Don't worry about me," he yelled back. "I'll catch up. Go. Zoro, you're in charge." The teen looked away from the group as Scissors sped away through the desert. He twisted through the air so that he landed on his feet while facing Crocodile and Nico Robin. "I guess you could say the princess slipped through your fingers." The woman laughed quietly, heedless to the growling of her employer. She turned and began to walk off. "And where do you think you are going?" the warlord questioned lowly. "To Alubarna," she replied with a wave. "Someone has to make sure those imbeciles do their jobs right. I expect to meet you there, Mr. Zero." "Insolent woman," Crocodile muttered as soon as she was out of earshot, believing Luffy could not hear him. "I'll do away with her soon enough. Gum Gum Pistol." Luffy's fist shot through the man's head, breaking it apart. The Sandman's face rematerialized with a scowl on his face. "I have very little time for you, Bo." He was cut off, Luffy's knuckles making contact once more. "What's that?" Luffy mocked. "I didn't hear you." My fist interrupted. "You brat." Crocodile raged. "Quicksand hole." Luffy's footing became very uneven as the sand underneath him gave way, sinking rapidly and trying to take him with it. The teen scurried up the side, slowly outrunning the deadly trap. He reached the lip, but he could not pull himself out, the sand was too loose to get a proper grip. With no other option, Luffy chose the unpredictable Gum Gum Bazooka. He yelled, slamming his hands into the sand. The force pushed him into the air, away from the quicksand. Gum Gum Whip. Gum Gum Battle Axe. Luffy's first attack split the unmoving warlord at the waist before he flipped in the air to bring his still extended leg down, splitting the man into 4 parts. Gum Gum Gatling. Finally, the pirate's rubbery arms lashed out, throwing hunks of sand from Crocodile's form until nothing remained. He landed. "Sand Saber," Crocodile's voice announced from behind him. Luffy jumped, hoping to get over the attack, but his lower legs still ended up passing through the grains of sand. The attack sucked the water out of the parts it came in contact with, leaving Luffy to faceplant. "Ah! What did you do to me?" Luffy shouted, holding his shriveled legs. "I removed the water from your system," Crocodile answered. In response to this explanation, Luffy took a big swig of water from the barrel he'd gotten from Toto Inyoa. His rubber body moved the water to where it was needed most, rehydrating his legs. "Yeah!" he yelled, jumping up. But he was too slow to stop Crocodile's next move. Luffy was lifting into the air, a hook of gold stabbed through his stomach. "You thought you could beat me?" Crocodile sneered. "Now you'll die, like every other upstart that came to challenge me. Goodbye, Straw Hat." The warlord broke into sand and drifted off into the wind, leaving the teen to fall into the quicksand where he slowly began sinking. But Luffy noticed one inconsistency. Crocodile's arm, which was soaked with his blood, was still intact. Chapter 16. Luffy gasped, taking sweet air into his lungs. His bloody form was tossed onto the sand outside the range of the quicksand. He pulled his eyes open, making out a blurry but familiar figure. His vision cleared after several seconds to reveal the shape as Miss All-Sunday. Thank you," Luffy panted, the hole in his stomach making it hard to both breathe and speak. The woman said nothing for a long moment, only staring down at the injured pirate. Finally, she spoke. "Why do you fight?" she asked. "What drives you?" "The people who bear the name of D." Luffy said nothing. He didn't know what was so special about his middle name. I suppose you don't know then, the woman sighed. Nico Robin. A voice yelled. Bell staggered out of the city, limping but forcing himself forward. The woman saw him, but her facial expression did not change. "You're awake already?" she questioned. "I'm surprised, but you shouldn't overexert yourself. You're in no shape to fight me. Heal the kid instead. His friends'll need him soon." She turned and walked off, taking a carriage that sped off into the desert. "Meat," Luffy groaned, grabbing the hem of the man's robe. "Give me meat. This is boring, dull, uninteresting," Miss Merry Christmas complained, stomping her foot into the sands that surrounded the capital city of Alubarna. "The shade of the wall is nice, but there has to be something we can do. Please calm down, Miss Merry Christmas," Miss Doublefinger placated, breathing out a breath of smoke from the pipe in her hand. "Mr. Zero said that the pirates should be here soon. But that message came through over an hour ago." Ha. Mr. Four laughed. His doggone lasso in his lap, looking at his face. "Shut up, Miss Merry Christmas," Mr. One ordered. "You're being loud and annoying. You brute," Mr. Two chastised. "If I could, I—" "What is that?" The Ikama squinted into the distance where a speck had appeared on the horizon. Mr. One snatched a pair of binoculars from Mr. Four and brought them up to his face. "They're here," he announced, dropping the binoculars into Miss Merry Christmas' reaching hand. She quickly looked out over the desert. "Damn them!" the woman shouted. "They're wearing cloaks. How unfair." Ha. "You wanted something to do," Miss Doublefinger commented, dumping the tobacco out of her pipe and onto the sand at her feet. The pirates were getting closer. There were 7 ducks and 1 camel in all, each one carrying a hooded figure. As the agents started to move to intercept the pirates, the group of ducks and camel broke off into 3 smaller groups, 1 of 2 and 2 of 3, that went toward the southwest, south, and southeast gates. The Mr. One pair gave chase to the first trio, which included the camel and Vivi's pet, Karyu, and the camel. Mr. Two pursued the duo heading to the southernmost entrance, while the Mr. Four pair went after the final 3, toward the east. As the race began, Vivi, Koby, and Grace watched from behind a rock far enough out that the agents couldn't see them, praying for their friends' safeties. Mr. Four and Miss Merry Christmas caught their prey just outside of the southeast entrance, one of Mr. Four's exploding baseballs knocking 2 of the figures off of their ducks. The birds were knocked unconscious, but the humans stood up as the agents revealed themselves. "Well?" Miss Merry Christmas demanded. "Which one of you is the princess?" "Which one, huh? Which one?" "Sorry to disappoint you, Miss Merry Christmas," a woman's voice laughed from under the hood of the human still on their duck, "but none of us are the princess." Kai ha ha ha. The 3 threw their robes away, exposing Usopp, Chopper, and Amy to the desert sun. Will Usopp began. "Ah! It's a mole woman. Oh God!" Chopper yelled. "You're right. I didn't think they existed." Ha! Mr. Four laughed as his partner streamed. She hadn't even transformed yet. The woman rushed forward, hoping to quickly kill these pesky pirates and the traitorous woman. Mr. Two stopped his duo outside the south gate, blocking it and taking a fighting stance with his arms raised before his face and his wrists limp. The 2 pulled to a stop and dismounted lightly. "Is one of you the princess we're looking for?" he asked excitedly. "Afraid not," the first of the 2 replied, pulling out a cigarette and lighting it. The duo tossed their cloaks to the wind, showing Sanji and Jin. "And let me tell you, you are one ugly-ass man." "I'm an Akama, you jerk," Mr. Two retorted. "Beware, for I will take you both down with my Nukama Kinpo." "Oh no," Jin rolled his eyes. "I'm so scared, I'm shaking in my shoes." "As you should be." Bon Clay responded, not catching the sarcasm in the pirate's tone. "Can we get this over with?" Sanji questioned impatiently. I'm running low on cigarettes, and the sooner this war is stopped, the sooner I can stop rationing. Fine, then. Prepare yourselves. Memoir of a Winter Sky. Mr. One and Miss Doublefinger had to sneak into the city before catching up to their opponents. The agents found them waiting in the middle of an average road. No words were spoken as the disguises were thrown away: a man, a woman, and a dummy on the camel. Sorry, Nami taunted. Not the princess you're looking for. You'll never get her either. Now, get em, Zoro. Yeah, the green-haired man waved off. Well, Miss Doublefinger, it seems we've been had. So it seems, Mr. One. I'll take the man, Miss Doublefinger. Then I'll take the girl, Mr. One. Their plan established, the agents rushed forward to face their foes. Flashback: after crossing the first half of the distance to Alubarna on Scissors the Moving Crab, the crew reached the Sandora River. There they ran into the Kung Fu dugongs, who beat up a Sandora catfish and dragged them across on its back. Once they got to the other side, Karyu and the other 6 ducks of the Supersonic Duck Squadron showed up to carry them the rest of the way. Of course, they knew that the remaining Baroque Works agents were going to be there waiting for them so they could kill Vivi. Therefore, everyone dressed themselves in matching robes at Amy's suggestion. In total, there were 9 humans, 7 ducks, Chopper, and Eyelash. They split off into groups, with Koby carrying Vivi and Grace in his Dino mode, lagging behind. It had been agreed that Vivi was too important to risk, so the others were to act as a diversion while the princess and the youngest pirates did their best to stop the rebellion before it reached the capital. Everyone else was hidden and riding one of the ducks. The numbers just didn't seem to work out, though. Without Vivi, Koby, or Grace in the mix, that left 6 humans. And with Eyelash able to either ride or carry, that meant that there were 8 riders and 7 ducks, or 7 riders and 8 carriers. Despite this math, Amy remained insistent that Grace not be involved anywhere near direct confrontation with the agents, and that she would be safer playing bodyguard to the princess. So Usopp, in all his brilliance, constructed a dummy for Eyelash to carry. Flashback: and the rebel army was approaching at well over 2 million strong. Their leader, Kaza, was in the front atop a horse as black as midnight. He was a man of average height with shaggy, dirty blonde hair and a scar that ran down next to his left eye. The rebels were coming in quickly, battle cries on their lips and swords in their hands. The trio of Vivi, Koby, and Grace had planted themselves in their way, so the army would need to go past them to reach the city. The army, or at least Kaza or his commanders, would see the 3. Kaza would recognize Vivi, and they would explain what was going on. That plan nearly went down the drain. Just as the army was coming into eyesight, a cannonball from the city hit the ground, kicking up a dust cloud and obscuring vision on both sides. What are they thinking? Vivi thought out loud, shielding her eyes with a hand. I can't see anything. Grace complained, pulling her hat low to protect her eyes from the sand. Then they can't see us, Koby pointed out, also protecting his eyes. We're going to miss the rebel army at this rate. If they don't trample us, how are we going to stop them? Vivi panicked. The army's shouts were getting closer. A sense of déjà vu came over Koby, and a memory of Nanohana stirred in his mind. Cover your ears, the male told them as he transformed, sucking in a breath. He let out a roar that reverberated through the air. His call was even heard in the palace where Chaka, the king's second advisor, was watching over the battlefield preparations. The sound washed over the angry men in the desert and filled them with fear. They'd never heard a noise like that. Fear of the unknown in the sand pushed at Kaza's mind. Halt! He ordered, his left hand in the air making a fist. Everybody, halt! His generals copied the sign and slowed to a nervous stop, the rest of the army following in their example. Their ungulates, hooved animals, shifted, scared of this new creature and where it might lie on the food chain. Kaza squinted into the settling sand. 3 shadows faded into view as the grain settled to the ground. It was silent. Leader. Vivi cried, rushing forward. The man was so surprised at Vivi's sudden appearance that he did not notice the two young pirates, Koby having reverted back into his human form. "Leader, stop this." Vivi. Koza stuttered as she dragged him off his horse and into a hug. "Vivi, is it really you?" "It's me, leader," the princess affirmed, crying into his shoulder. "Vivi," Koza muttered, hugging her back. "I thought you were dead. We hadn't gotten word in so long. I was away for over 2 years, but now I'm back. You have to stop this attack, Koza. Thousands of innocent people could die. The war was a setup." "A setup?" Koza growled, suddenly angry at the mention of the war. "Your father and his dance powder sent this country into a drought, and then he wouldn't use it to make it rain like it used to." "It wasn't my father," Vivi argued. "He was framed. That's where I've been these past 2 years. I infiltrated a criminal syndicate called Baroque Works and learned that their boss is Crocodile the Warlord and that he framed my father to start a civil war to tear this country apart. Do you expect me to believe that Crocodile is the reason for this war? He's a hero." "It's a front," a new voice interrupted, a hand tugging on the hem of Koza's sleeve. The two older teens looked down to see Grace on Vivi's left side and Koby on the other. "I'm Grace, but I was called Ms. Golden week before I left Baroque Works." "Nice to meet you. You were a member of this Baroque Works?" It was obvious that the rebel did not believe her. "You're, what, 11? I'm 13, Grace responded, mildly annoyed. "I was the youngest member, but also one of the strongest." "Really?" Koza was still skeptical, but he brushed it off. "Speaking of strong, what was that noise?" "That was me," Koby spoke up. "I'm Koby, a member of the Straw Hat Pirates. I ate the ancient zone devil fruit, model Triceratops." "You're a pirate?" Koza growled at Koby, pulling his sword out from the sheath at his hip. "What are you doing near Vivi, you sea scum?" The boy growled back, a deep rumble that should not come from someone of Koby's size rolling out of the back of the boy's throat. "Vivi is under the protection of the Straw Hat Pirates until this war is over," Koby rumbled, growing with each word until he was in his hybrid mode. "You got a problem with that?" Koza stepped back, stunned at the display. "Koby, stop it," Vivi ordered, throwing her right hand out in front of the rosette. "Zoro's rubbed off on you too much if you're trying to pick a fight now." "Sorry, Vivi," Koby apologized sheepishly, shrinking back. "I guess that sea scum remark hit harder than I thought it had." "No, it's fine. But, leader, before I go on, I need to tell you. I think that Baroque Works has infiltrated both the Royal Army and the Rebel Army." "Why would you think that?" Koza asked. "That way, if it seemed they were trying to find peace diplomatically, one side or the other would fire, sparking war again." "But what proof do you have?" "That cannonball that came down right before we started talking. Chaka and my father aren't stupid, they wouldn't fire so early. I think that was one of the agents trying to make us miss each other." "Let's just wait here," Koby suggested. "The rest of our crew are fighting the remaining agents as we speak. If you squint, you can see our sniper, Doctor, and Grace's sister fighting two of them by the southeastern gate." "Someone," Koza ordered, "give me a pair of binoculars." A pair were placed into his open hand. He brought them to his face and scanned the area he mentioned. There were 5 people, none of whom Koza had ever seen before, in what seemed to be a battle. While he watched that fight, Vivi knelt to Koby's level to talk to him. "Koby, take Grace and walk around the rebel army. Try to find any Baroque Works agents you can. If we can get them to talk, Koza will know we aren't lying." "Sure thing. Sure thing. Come on, Grace." "Fine." Grace yawned. "Carry me? Now of all times?" Grace didn't respond, only lifting her arms forward. Koby face-palmed, but transformed. Nami was right, Vivi mused as the two set off. "How did I miss that? Let's try again." "Sure thing. Come on, Grace." "Fine." Grace yawned. Carry me? Now of all times? Grace didn't respond, only lifting her arms forward. Koby face-palmed, but transformed. Nami was right, Vivi mused as the two set off. How did I miss that?